DIY.
DIYers. Welcome for an evening interview and episode of Curtis King Reacts, the pod. I'm here with not just a special guest because, you know, many times we say this when we're hosting podcasts like this, special guest, but I say this because even more so, this audience has highly requested this individual's presence here. I think it's their way of saying thank you for getting us squabble up, which you titled Broccoli. I think that may be part of the reason. But Jeremy Hecht is in the building, and man, I couldn't be more honored to have you here. How you doing, sir?
Man, I'm super excited. Shout out to the DIYers in the building. Everyone, if you were requesting me, we are here. We are live. We are making it happen. And just so you know, just today, I was putting in more requests for the tiramisu. Okay, we're getting dessert soon. We're getting the next snippet. It's happening.
Use whatever power that you have. There's some. I think when you downloaded your update on the iPhone and you got Broccoli, I think your Broccoli have a way of getting through the DMs or something. I don't know what it is. It's, you know, technology is crazy. I just feel like you have a superpower. And man, I mean, aside from that, man, I want to make sure I give you a proper introduction. Jeremy Hecht is a respected Canadian hip hop journalist, interviewer, and content creator, known for his in-depth lyric breakdowns, clever analysis, and infectious positivity. Jeremy has built a loyal audience through shows like The Bigger Picture with Elliott and DJ Head, and his latest venture, Soundcheck, on UPROXX. As a champion of authentic storytelling and music, he continues to spotlight rising talent and engage with artists in a way that's both thoughtful and entertaining. Man, the folks love you, bro. And you know, when I first got introduced to The Bigger Picture, obviously my introduction is somebody I know for years in DJ Head. And so I was kind of watching because, you know, he had a show on there, and I'm of course I'm familiar with Elliott, and you were kind of the new voice. But man, that is an introduction to you has been so dope because I feel like I've seen a wheelhouse of emotion since you've been on there because of all the events that have gone on, and people can see, I know I can speak for myself, we can see the passion that flows through you. So man, between that and Culture United, it's been a pleasure to get to know you over this time, bro.
Same to you. It's funny because I feel like on that note, people have gotten to see my my journey live. Like, it's all recorded. Not that there wasn't a lot of journey before that, there was, but in terms of just the last year, the last 365 days, in terms of like starting the bigger picture to what's happened, you got to really see me live grappling with like being the newcomer on the scene, and then like my idols respecting me, and then people beefing with me in the media, and then like artists responding back to me and getting caught up in stuff, and then like how to so I'm navigating this stuff like live in front of people. And I think the cool part is fans kind of get to put themselves in my position of like, if I were just a guy who was passionate about music and loved this shit, and now I'm like sitting there and Kendrick could probably hear what I'm saying, like what would I be feeling? And so I think that's been a cool thing to like be able to navigate live, and also just seeing the space elevate, like even everything you've been doing, and Culture United and Justin and all the people that we admire on YouTube, for it to be elevated and at the forefront, and for people to really care, like even your audience in particular, like people care about the music again, people care about thoughtful analysis again. And it's like, versus it's kind of this battle, yes, the battle, right? But the battle has been too for like the core and the heart of hip hop media, of music media, of the music itself. And so to kind of be in the middle and navigating all this shit and just a part of it live has been incredible.
Man, it's such a great way of putting it too, because I've grappled with so many ways to answer the question I'm getting ready to ask you. If there was somebody who missed out on the last year of life, they were in a cave. Let's say they were literally in a cave, but before that, they were really passionate about hip hop, but for whatever reason, they were in a cave. How would you describe, using whatever examples you want, how would you describe the activity that is happening? Because like you said, media is changing, hip-hop media is changing, artists are changing, the spotlight that certain artists are getting is changing, obviously the battle amongst many things. How would you kind of describe that to somebody who had no idea?
Okay, so there's these two guys
So walk to a bar, you know that?
there's these two guys, and over the course of 15-year span, they started to dislike each other for one reason or another.
Right.
And they became the biggest stars in the world for two very different but both valid reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the guys did a song. Sorry, there's three guys. Cole, I'm sorry. There's three. I did not mean to
Fresh off the dream deal. How could you?
And my Cole stand-up. I just apologized to Cole today and said I understand why he did what he did. But okay, so there's three guys, okay?
Right.
And two of them hugging and kissing on stage. Okay.
You mean quite literally, or you mean figuratively? Like what's going on?
Like snapping up and being like, you're the greatest. No, you're the greatest. No, you're the greatest. No, you're the greatest. And they're touring. And then the other guy sees two of his peers doing that and feels a little bit like, what's going on over here? I thought I was one of the greats too, but they're talking about they're the greatest. And then he's like, let's get competitive. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to throw some shots at this. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to have some fun here. You know, they got that. He's going to throw some shots on a record. So he makes a song called Like That, and boom, out of nowhere, we have a real life three-headed monster battle. One guy's like the lyrical, you know, like he makes all this art and takes his time, and he sometimes disappears and people are like, where are you? And then the other guy is like very like sensitive and but also like, you know, has a couple hits on to his name, and he's kind of like, you know, in the middle of these two guys. He's friends with both, and he's a well-liked guy, very nice guy. And then the other guy is this guy who's like a massive superstar, has hit records, makes pop songs. Everyone knows his name. He's genreless. He's done all this. He's commercially at the top of the game. And so these two guys are on tour together. Wow. Right. And right after they get off tour, the guy who's like the lyrical guy threw this shot. And then from there, everything spiraled. And it was just a year. It was a year long.
I'm gonna be the caveman.
Okay.
I'm going back in the house. I'm going back. Sounds like it's too much going on out here. I'm out of here. If I am him, and like I don't even know where to start. It's funny because somebody left a comment on one of my old reactions of Not Like Us. And the first comment said, "Oh, what a difference a year makes." And it sounds like somebody's talking about war stories and PTSD. It's been an insane one, but I mean, we got plenty of time to get to that. I mean, obviously, people knew we were going to have a conversation about that, especially as we start to get to some of the 1-year anniversaries of these songs. But I want to start.
I haven't mentioned names, by the way, before we get it. Just so you know, the two names that you thought, like, they haven't been mentioned. Okay, we mentioned Jermaine's name, but that's it.
Yeah, you mean to tell me that Jay-Z and Nas are at it again? Is that what you mean? I'm going back in the cave, man. I feel like you do so much for artists out here. You're always digging into other people's stories and, you know, getting these hidden gems and things. I've seen so many of, like, you know, the most well-known artists look at you, and you can tell when they break from, okay, this is part of my job description, I'm answering questions, and you ask something and they're like, oh, you did research, and I appreciate that. So this is me returning that favor to you. I want to know more about your origin story, man. Like, what got you into the hip-hop journalism in the first place, into this space in the first place? And was it writing or music that came first?
So my first love in the space was writing bars. Like when I was like 8 years old, I was writing, maybe they were more like poems, but I was like, you could find, like, I have a stack of them that I would like write these raps and I would hide them. I think when I like a bar, I think I said I got more muscle than Bill Russell. And that was like, I just remember that just threw it down. And then I put that paper away and never looked back. And then I came back to it, like, I would say when I was like 15, I guess I fell simultaneously in love with the music itself and making music. Like, that's why I feel so attached to these artists, because I feel like I've been studying their story and watching their come up for the last 15 years. Like when Cudi dropped Man on the Moon, the mixtape, when Big Sean dropped Finally Famous 3, you know, Wale mixtape about nothing, Drake So Far Gone, the warm up by J. Cole. Like these are all projects that Kendrick's OD, you know, these are projects that literally shaped the way that I viewed not only music, but my life. I was like, oh, there's other people out there who are making music that I can relate to. Because again, before that, I loved hip hop. Like I had Eminem and 50 Cent posters on my wall and Jay-Z, but I had no relatability to them. I'm like, I have nothing. Like I'm in the suburbs in Winnipeg, Canada. Like I have no, they're so out of reach. Now, not to say that all of those people had the exact same life experience as me, but seeing someone like Drake come from Canada and be emotional on records and talk about girls in a way where I'm like, I feel like that too. Or Kid Cudi be like, you know, talk about how alone he felt and chasing his dreams. Like those are themes that I really resonated with, to the point where I was like, okay, maybe I can do this too. Like I felt like I didn't have a story to tell, but I'm like, oh, if these people are just talking about what they're going through, let me do that. So I kind of would emulate that to a degree and write songs. It wasn't until, and I kept doing that, but it wasn't until I would say like 2015 when I first started venturing into journalism in any degree. And it was really out of just wanting to be a part of it. Like my only goal was like, how do I be a part of the conversation and spark conversations that can lead to bettering the space? And so I actually saw an internship 2015. I'm still living in Canada. It was an internship opportunity with this magazine called Respect Magazine on Twitter. It was like somebody posted it.
Yeah, I got the Black Hippie magazine cover, that one. Yeah, which
is crazy. And I didn't realize. So at the time, Elliott Wilson was the editor-in-chief. And I got an email and I was like, hey, I write for my school paper. You know, I'd written some art. I wrote like a Drake piece for my school paper at the time. And I was like, can I do interviews and can I write articles? And they're like, sure. So that was like the first time that I ever even thought about it. And everyone would just tell me I'm good.
You said you were writing articles. Someone did an article about, so I was inspired to make $100 box as an independent artist, obviously inspired by Nipsey.
Yeah.
And that, whoever wrote that article, they did a meme. I want to shake your hand. Whoever wrote that article is the reason that Nipsey Hussle followed me on Twitter.
Wow. So
it was a Respect Magazine article where I was talking about how I was inspired by the $100 album. And so I came up with this game box that we designed from scratch. And it had like all of my catalog. It had Curtis King socks. It had DVDs of all my music videos. It's dating itself. But when I did that, he saw that and, you know, he just kind of saluted it and retweeted it. And then he followed me. So, you know, I always get nothing but love for Respect Magazine. For that opportunity, man. Growing up in Canada, what was your relationship to the culture like? Because I feel like we're hearing so many perspectives now that people are like, okay, Drake is not the only experience here in Canada, and now you guys can hear us for us and all the all the different lifestyles that exist. But for you in particular, growing up in Canada, what was the relationship to the culture like?
I mean, it was far removed in the sense of like, what I will say is hip hop. Not now necessarily as much, but at that time when I'm growing up, like it's a lot less prevalent. It's not that it doesn't exist. Like there's scenes, like there was people like Cardinal Official, right? There's people that kind of made it out, and there was always a scene. There was always an underground scene. But in terms of like mainstream, especially in the city that I grew up in, it's like a hockey town, right? So it's like to find hip hop, especially being a white kid, you almost find a very niche, like specific community where everyone's connected because you have to go out of your way to find it. That was growing up. When YouTube hit and when the blog era hit, I think that's when it kind of blew the waters open a little bit more, to the point where you're like, oh, okay. Like I found my community online. Like it's funny, we have like Culture United now, but like I was doing these things like 15 years old. Like it was called Tiny Chat. Do you remember that website?
Tiny Chat. That was like during the photo bucket days, wasn't it?
So it was somebody will remember in the chat. It was so specific. But I was in this group. It was basically like, imagine doing like a Zoom call with like 10 to 20 people. And I connected with all these YouTube rappers because I was like putting up YouTube, content. I was doing YouTube rap contests. So you remember like Karmaloop, like karmaloop.com?
Yeah, of course.
So I came like, second in a couple contests, first in a couple contests, fifth in a couple contests. It was like out of like 200, 300 applicants a lot of the time. So I was kind of like making, and I was young at the time. I was like 15, 16. So I was kind of like the young kid in a lot of these rap contests. And people were connecting with me. I was connecting with them. And there's people that I still connect with like now, like this guy, Dana Mar, I've known 10 years, Deuce B, Cert, all these people, like a guy who inserted my TV the other day, apparently was in one of those, like in LA, was in one of my tiny chat group chats 10 years ago. And we met randomly during, he's like, you're Jeremy, like, so anyways, that was my online community was very strong. And I found kind of solace in the fact that like we all are connecting over the same artists, same music, doing freestyles, talking music. And then in terms of in the real world, it was like a couple rappers, like, you know, one of my boys, Miazwe, we would do shows together. But once I was putting out songs, I kind of found a new community of like going to the studio. And shout out to Milan, who is Russ's manager. Like he was a guy who was like big on he was from Winnipeg. He was putting on like shows like Mac Miller, Big Sean, J. Cole. He brought them all to the city. And he was another guy who like, he'd send me beats from like one of the local producers, and his brother did my music video. So like, it was small, but there was enough where you're like, okay, I feel like I belong. It was just, there was a ceiling. Like at some point you're like, I've kind of reached it, you know?
I'm noticing, man, and I'm glad. Thank you for sharing that, because I'm noticing that the people that I'm interviewing, who I've met you obviously one time in person at the will.i.am event, and I was super dope to see all three of us together, me, you, and Justin together. But I'm starting to notice that the people that I really enjoy the takes of have all had an experience in writing or making music. Like you've been a practitioner in some regard. Justin's the same way. He said he used to write lyrics too, and I'm like, there's a part of me, and I want to get your opinion on this. There's a part of me that feels like because you've gone through the process, you kind of have like a different level of empathy, maybe for, you know, the work that goes into it, or a different level of. Can you kind of expound upon that?
Yeah.
What you think would be unique?
I would say it definitely allows me at least, and again, I'm not claiming to be the greatest rapper alive, or that my pen was like lethal or anything, but it was, I would say that I could write a good rap. So at the very least, I knew what went into a good rap. So it's like a rhyme scheme, for example. Like what used to make me so upset is when someone was like being claimed as like, look at this guy, he's so good. And I'm like, he doesn't even use multi-syllable rhymes. Like, what are we talking about? Like, there you go, right. What do you mean?
Where your multis at?
There's like no internals. This is just A B. So I feel like it was like that level of at least knowing what a great verse was, to be impressed enough.
Go ahead.
Yeah, literally rhyme zone is good. But so then you see like Lupe Fiasco doing murals or something, you're like, oh my God, this is like so far beyond. Like
oh my God.
So I think it helps. Now that's why I think there's two types of analysis though. I don't push it off and say it's not like that's your barrier of entry. I love hearing from people like you who actually does it at a high level, or whether it be like, you know, like a Mick Jenkins in your conversation, like this is so technical and so about the bars that I love it. It's like watching JJ Redick and LeBron talk about basketball, right? Like these guys know exactly what it takes. That being said, I don't think there's no room for Stephen A. Smith. You know, like I think like people who did it and no shot, like Stephen A. played college, he played basketball. So maybe more like someone who's like a sportscaster who like never really played. Like
Skip.
Yeah, Skip. Yeah, Skip. Like it's like, you know, there's room for it, but I think it gives you a certain level of understanding or empathy for sure for the craft that you might not have otherwise.
Man, yeah, that's a bar, and I think there needs to be a balance, because I can see a world where someone listens to, even like now, the JJ Redick has been replaced by Steve Nash, and I can see where somebody's like, I don't know that much about basketball terminology. I just want to hear some experiences of locker room stories, and some of this may go over your head. But at the same time, I think that the times are asking, and it's so encouraging to see it happen in sports too. Because to me, that means that it's a wider net that's being cast, and it's not just necessarily in the space of hip hop, where the audience is generally saying, "Hey, we want more than just entertainment. Maybe some edutainment, maybe some opportunity to, you know, be more informed about the games and the music that we listen to." So all of it is needed. My question for you now is, you know, were there early interviews, albums, or artists that made you say, yeah, I need in on this, I gotta be a part of this?
Yeah, I would say definitely album wise, like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is like one of my favorite albums. But even before that, like Late Registration was I think the first CD that my dad got it for me, but it was like the first CD that I got that I was like requesting. I was like, let me go get, can you go get this for me explicit? Like, cause I had all these clean CDs. I had like, he let me get, shout out to my dad. He let me get Sean Paul's explicit as the first explicit. Cause he's like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's like,
Ain't a whole lot of cussing from Sean Paul. Wasn't a whole lot of cussing anyway.
He's like, I don't know what he said on any of the songs. So go for it. Have fun. He's like, did a test. He's probably like, is this guy speaking English? But yeah, so like early Kanye for sure, and then like I said, like Cudi, Drake, right. Kendrick, Wiz, Big Sean, that whole Wale, that whole like blog era, and then seeing interviews. I didn't realize that I was studying interviews when I was like I was studying them. You're probably right, because you're studying them from the artist perspective at that time. And so you're seeing like, oh, what kind of advice are they giving or how? But I remember watching interviews and I was always so excited. Like if my favorite artist made it to the Breakfast Club or they made it to Hot 97 or like, oh, wow, they're in, in the cycle. But I was always disappointed with interviews, and not by those platforms in particular, but by a lot of other platforms where I felt like they were missing like the real come up. Like there was like 2 or 3 steps like as an artist watching you'd want to hear that I feel like I was missing. I'm like, no, like, what do you mean now you're signed? What happened in between?
Yeah, there was a big gap between some of them. Don't tell me, I was on the grind and then I came across this one dude and 8 months later. Boom. No. We need to know about the 8 months in between.
Yeah, literally, I used to call it the in between. I was like, I need to hear the in between. So that made me want to actually do interviews with artists, and then also just studying. Like, it's funny, like the people that, and I'm glad I've got to tell a lot of them to their face, but the people that inspired me, I was just studying the way that they, like, what made Sway such a good interviewer, what made Big Boy such a good interviewer, what made Elliott such a good interviewer. And it was their ability to truly not only know an artist, but truly listen to the artist in a moment. Like, what are they actually telling? Like their ability to have follow-up questions made me inspired to want to be an interviewer. It's like, oh, this person said something and they caught it. Cause I would be in my bedroom being like, what would I ask here? Like, and if they didn't catch it, I'd be upset. You didn't ask about this. There's a but there. Like, don't like, but when they were like, no, but you said this, what about this? So I think like, all of like the Sway interviews, the Big Boy interviews, the Elliott interviews, the Breakfast Club, like all of that made me subconsciously be like, oh, I really want to be a part of this somehow.
Jeremy, there's a moment caught on camera where I'm doing a reaction, and I'm doing a reaction to someone interviewing Method Man. And I mean, no disrespect to whoever this gentleman was, but Method Man said, he asked him about streaming, and he was like, yeah, I haven't made a dime off of streaming. And he said, my next question for you. I said, no. Method Man, the man is sitting in front of you telling you he's never made money off of streaming, and you said, that's unfortunate. What's your favorite cereal? And I pulled off whatever hairline I have left when I saw that, and he saw it in real time. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's interesting when you see those moments of irritation start to kind of be part of your purpose, because you're like, why does it irritate me so much? Why is it such a burning issue for me? Well, maybe because that's aligned with my purpose, wherever that may be, right? I want you to go back to something that you mentioned, because I think a lot of people who missed out on the blog era, they kind of gloss over it like we're just saying, yeah, back in the golden age, the good old days. And I think that I think a lot of people really underestimate, even people who might have been a part of it. But when I'm seeing Wiz Khalifa on this run and I'm seeing him do all these freestyles, I thought it was so dope to see, oh my God, that's the same energy that made me a fan of yours when your music was being distributed on the, the Nah Rights or the Two Dope Boys, and even using YouTube on his own, space to do vlogs and whatnot. But can you kind of speak to the importance of the blog era and just your perspective of it?
I think that whole era deserves, I mean, shout out to It's The Real. They did like a great podcast about the blog era, but I think it just deserves a lot, like whether that's a Netflix series or some, because what it was I think a new generation of artists taking back the power into their own hands from labels to a degree, but also just like there was no timeline. They were putting out mixtapes. This is Kit Cudi, speaking of the blog era, my cat.
Your cat's name is Kid Cudi?
Kit, K-I-T Cudi. Yeah. He always comes onto the stream. Kit, say hi. But yeah, no. So I think the blog era was that, but it was also a shift in music, and you always see these full cycle shifts, right? Where it's like there's the snap rap era of like hits right before that, and you had a lot of people, you know. I
think you muted up.
There we go. Kit didn't want. He's like, it's all about but no. So I mean, in the early 2000s, right? You had a lot of one hit wonders. You had a lot of snap rap. You had a lot of people like coming in and out, but no one was really making a real impact. Then you did have a little bit of a shift, right? You had Kanye that was kind of like the poster boy for, you know, making this new era of, you know, meaningful rap and backpack rap to a degree. Then you had after Ye, there was still like kind of this period of like in between of like, all right, what's next? Like, who is the next generation? And I think all of those people really took it and ran with it, like Drake and Kendrick and Cole. The reason why they're still the biggest artists in the world is because of the connection they made. Like I was watching at Dreamville Festival, and I had almost forgot what an emotional connection I felt like I had to J. Cole until he's performing songs from 15 years ago. And I remember where I was. I remember hearing Lights Please and being like, wow, I've never heard anyone put this into a song before. And so that whole era, and even like recently, a few years ago, I got to produce a documentary for Wiz, and it was about his debut album. And to him about it, like hearing their perspective, like even he was saying how special that time period was, and they didn't really realize it until he always says like, you know, I didn't realize how much incredible shit we were doing until I looked back, and I'm like, damn, we really did some incredible shit. Like we really did.
That's the power of music, man. I was gonna say just in case, could you double check the mic, because I think we might be getting room audio, or like the microphone off the laptop that changed up a little bit. Just in case. But I'll tell you a quick story. It's funny that when you're mentioning J. Cole, I just talked to somebody about this today. But the first time I even heard the name J. Cole in terms of just someone having a genuine interest, just so happened to be with Kendrick and Dave Free in LA at a sneakers place called Riff LA. And I remember him casually saying this. And in a moment, I had no idea that it would be the kind of story that I'm sharing today. But he very casually said, yo, Kurt, you ever heard of J. Cole? And a song is playing. It might have been Lights Please in the background. I'm like, it has such a movie moment to it. But I didn't recognize it in the moment. He's like, you ever listen to J. Cole? And I'm like, nah, like, you know, I mostly listen to West Coast and all that. And he's just like, yeah, he's dope. And just goes back to looking at the Jordans in front of him. This is like the Michael Jordan era where he's doing the song Michael Jordan. And it just like casually takes on. And I'm like, these are the things that I think back when I hear a song, it immediately brings me back to a moment like that. Or you see someone run through the catalog. But see, that's why, Jeremy, it breaks my ever-loving damn heart to see this version of Kanye. You just mentioned a few Kanye projects. And I think there's some people, it's funny, who's I talking to? I was talking to my guy, Deleted. Shout out to Deleted. I was talking to him today. And we were having a discussion about just his, you know, he's still a big fan of him, but he's like, it's getting hard to defend him. My thing is, I have so much passion when I speak, you know, in opposition of the things that he says, because I just felt like, damn it, you had me here, bro. I was locked in. The things that you were saying on that first album, the things that I heard on I Wonder, I was like, yo, you are saying the thing, and I believe you understand my story. And then to see the last X amount of years where he'll go on Drink Champs and say, yeah, I was just doing that just to get on. I really wasn't a backpacker at all. I didn't really want to do songs with Talib. And it's just like, God, why are you taking that part away? How have you been kind of making sense? And I know you guys have talked about this at length on the bigger picture, but like, how have you been kind of like grappling with that?
Well, it's funny because I think where I'm at right now is I only am able to be extremely disappointed with somebody that I truly care about. Like, if I feel like I have a true connection to you, then I'm able to be disappointed. If not, I could care less. Like, for example, if it's like, there's people will mention other people that have done other things in music. Like, I don't have an expectation of Future. Like, I don't like, I like Future songs, but I have no expectation of him as a man. Like, I didn't have an emotional connection to him. Like, I have no expectation of Playboi Carti. Like, I literally could care less just because I have not connected. Now, that's not to say if they do heinous things that they shouldn't be critiqued or that they shouldn't be, you know, called out for it. That's just an aside. A Kanye or a Drake, and I'm not putting them on the same level at all, but I'm just saying I'm able to be people say I'm like the biggest Drake hater. I'm actually one of the biggest Drake fans you probably know. The only reason I'm so harshly critical of a lot of his moves post-battle is because I'm disappointed because I was such a fan for so long. Like Kanye, the same reason with him, the reason why I'm able to be like, this hurts me is because I was so deeply invested. And I was one of those guys who was defending till the end. You know, like I've taken breaks. I say I'm in an abusive relationship because I took breaks and I'm like, I'm done. You know, after slavery was a choice, I'm done. I'm not listening to any of those albums. I didn't listen to Ye. I didn't listen to, I think maybe I listened to Kids See Ghosts, but I felt guilty about it. Then I, you know, I was like, I'm done. Right. And then couple years went by and then I was like, oh, this Ghost Town song is pretty good. And then I was like, you know what? Like, let me give him a chance. Donda, okay, he's not talking. All right, he's not saying anything crazy. He seems like he's back. And then here we go again, you know? So the rug is pulled. And so I haven't personally listened to Bully. I have no interest in it. I haven't followed him. I haven't reacted to anything he said. I think he's one of those guys who he'll show you his cards every time. And I think he's clearly showed he's jealous. He's a hater. And when somebody else is taking his entitled spotlight that he feels like should always be his no matter what,
right?
He doesn't know how to handle it. When Kendrick is having a moment, he's like, oh, I'm going to just throw random shots. And then you see him literally tell you 2 months later, I'm jealous of Kendrick, you know? And so it's like, oh, I want to, like, even his feud with Drake all stemmed from, yes, some of it is his like competitive spirit. A lot of it was jealousy. And so if you're going to be that guy that always wants attention and you need that to thrive, I feel like giving you more of my attention, at least with my platform, isn't necessary. So I personally stopped.
I hear you. And man, I see that whenever you're having like your criticisms of Drake. I never see it for whatever reason, whatever glasses that some folks who are super fans of his that they're reading with me and they're like, oh, you're just a hater. I'm like, you could see the difference between my criticism and a Jeremy's. I look at Jeremy and I'm like, I look in your eyes and I'm like, you got that look like, why are you doing it again? You're supposed to be repping. Why are you doing it again? And that's the thing is, what you're expressing there is what I've expressed of Kanye. And at some point I just said, okay, it's not for me. I want to get into a few of those questions because I still want to make sure that we focus this back on the work that you do. But I know these folks want to know some of these things. You've shared criticism of Drake before. As a fellow Canadian, do you feel like you have a unique lens into the things that are going on with him?
I wouldn't necessarily say because I'm Canadian, but I do say because I'm a big Drake fan. Like, because I've studied these people and because I've been documenting Kendrick and Drake's subliminal battle for years. Like on my TikTok, like 5 years, I've posted like million view videos of Drake and Kendrick's subliminal war. So just because I feel like I've studied, like I had a password on one of my computers that had OVO and TDE in it. Like, I feel like this battle was the culmination of a lot of what I've spent a lot of time and energy. And I'm glad it paid off because I could have just been wasting my time. So I'm glad it actually, you know, worked out. But in terms of being a fan and really thinking I understand their discography and their journeys a little bit, I think that gives me a unique lens. But I also think there's some degree of like being, you know, a white Jewish guy in Canada is a little bit closer maybe than being in America to some degree, because what I do understand of Drake's journey is you still have to go to America to make it. You know, a lot of people see it as like there's this, why don't you just stick in Canada? Why are you coming here? there is a degree of a ceiling, and Drake broke open that glass ceiling a little bit but he came to America to make that. And I'm not talking about like running to Atlanta. This is not a cultural divide. I'm literally just talking about like, you know, he met Lil Wayne, he met Jay Prince, he broke through BET with the video with Trey Songz. And so he paid for, that was my first ever video for Hip Hop DX that I wrote. It was a $20,000 feature. He paid Trey Songz, and that broke in America on BET, which caught Jazz Prince's attention, which ended up ultimately leading to him signing to Lil Wayne. So I think seeing that lens, A, was like, okay, I understand. But B, I don't really like that it was made into like a Canada versus America thing. Like I just never saw it. I never took it that way. Like I never took it in a way where Not Like Us was against me simply because I'm Canadian, or simply because I'm Jewish, or simply because like I'm white. It wasn't any of those things. It was just a cultural understanding. And it was disappointing because I actually do feel like Drake could have, like, he could have walked away from this on so many occasions in a better situation than he came out. Like I really, that's why it was so like, damn, like this is really how this went down. It was tough.
I'll tell you, between yourself, between a lot of the new content creators that I admittedly was not as privy to before this battle, it's super dope to see so many fresh perspectives come out of Canada, where they're saying like, you know, in the same way that somebody, I remember the first time I met somebody from New York, I was on a cruise with my family, and he was like, "You say you from the West Coast, B?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Y'all probably be having barbecues every day, huh?" I'm like, there's more life that goes on except for what you see in a Dr. Dre video. You know that, right? And you know we're not in 1993 right now, right? You know, it's like, but his picture was so obstructed by, you know, just the imagery he sees. And so I think for a lot of people, the same thing might have existed for their limited knowledge of all the different cultures that exist in Canada. I've gotten so many DMs from, you know, different sections that are telling me like, you know, this is this and this is that. I'm curious though, because you do so much for so many different communities, especially independent artists. Do you think Canada's hip hop identity is still evolving, or do you think this is a window where it's finally owning its voice?
I think it's definitely evolving. I would say shout out to there's a company called Beat Cave in Canada that we do events with through Something Dope, and we did a show with them in Toronto. We did a showcase Pass the Aux event in LA where independent artists from Toronto and LA both played music back to back, and I brought my guy Ant Clemens to help, you know, give feedback. And so it was super dope. Like that was like more of like a bridging the gap. Like, you know, now you have a pathway to LA, and LA people have a pathway to Toronto. But when I say that the music that I heard from the 6 or 7 artists that I listened to was so diverse, like so diverse. Like there was a producer who played a beat that someone was singing over. It's like, this is crazy house music that could be like a hip hop trap influence. Like it was just all types of music. I will say, like, when people talk about the Toronto sound, like if you look at The Weeknd and Party and Drake, like they did have a similar sound for a while because of the fact that it's so cold there. Like I think you get that, like you do get that like sense of eeriness, and like even like the stripped down production of a 40 feels like, I lived in Toronto for a summer. Even like a lot of the Drake Views album, like you feel Toronto sound. So I do think that there is a sound to a degree, and maybe it was caused by those artists. But I think there's a lot of diversity. Like there's a lot. Canada is a massive place. Like it is a bigger place. There's more people in California than there are in Canada, I believe, if not like very like 1-to-1. It's like very close. So just think about the density. But Canada itself is bigger than America. So the amount, and someone can fact check me on, someone might be like, no, that's wrong. But in terms of like, so there's way less people, but it's also so diverse in terms of like what each landscape is like. So I'm actually looking forward to more Canadian artists breaking through, and hopefully it helps put a shine. One of my goals this year is to help put a light on more Toronto, more Canadian artists. So if there are independent artists from Canada, I would love to spotlight them.
Last Canadian-based question. Do you like poutine?
I like it. I don't love it. I think it's okay.
I got you. Somebody in here had a very, very special question for me. They said, "You bet you ain't gonna ask Jeremy about that." Don't ever test me about nothing,
Come
okay?
on. We talk
we had a very,
poutine.
come on. We had a very spirited conversation with my guy James Francis about, he's from the UK, and he was telling me about the many poutine styles, and he was telling me like, man, we have this thing with smashed peas and gravy on fries, and I googled a picture, and he was like, "Oh, that's a bad representation, man." I said, your homework is to come to this interview and present a good representation. It didn't work out well. So they were asking a continuation. Shout out to him. Man, your lyric breakdowns, in my opinion, are top tier. I love the way that you'll sit with them. And even if it's something that you've already had like thoughts before, you'll leave yourself open to be like, or is it this? Or is it this? How do you pick which lines to hyper focus on? And what's your process for breaking them down, especially when, there's a demand for music to be, or there's a demand for content to be out shortly after the music?
Well, I would say it really amped up during this battle. Like I was doing it beforehand. Like a lot of my early videos on TikTok that would blow up were subliminal shot breakdowns. Like a lot of it would be like a Kendrick shot or a Drake shot from like both of those sides. So I was doing it for a very long time. But I would say once the battle like really, like I would say I rewatched my reaction to Like That yesterday, and I remember saying like at that moment I was like, Cole has to respond, Drake has to respond, like nothing may ever be the same. I was like, it is actually happening. Like you could see physically in my face how excited I was. In the car at midnight in Palm Springs. Like my family was like on vacation, and my brother's like, I think Kendrick just dissed Drake or something. Like shout out to my brother, but he's like not super in on it. He's just like, yo, I saw on Twitter, like I'm in the car like midnight listening. I'm like, holy shit, it's happening. Oh my God.
Being in the car when this is happening, that gives me anxiety just thinking about it, because it's like, what do you do? And when I write down this, I gotta do something.
Horrible lighting, like the video didn't do that well, but I was like, I gotta get it up.
You're fine, because so many of us had to like make do with what we had. Jeremy, I just watched my Not Like Us video.
Yeah.
For as big as that song was, you could tell the energy in me was high, but I was sick. I lost my voice. I had been doing so many videos. I said, you understand what's gonna happen with this song? It's gonna be in football stadiums. It's gonna be. I was tired, man. But continue. I'm sorry.
Is it Certified Lover Boy? But to your point, like I actually do. So I listen, right, and I have if I have a theory or thoughts, but I actually do like on TikTok when I was doing that, I would break it down bar by bar. I would actually be like, well, is there anything said here that I can actually provide value to? If not, I'll skip it. But besides that, I would literally just go bar by bar. And then if there was something that I thought was like worth going down a rabbit hole for, I'd like go and screenshot all the videos and things that like led to the context of that, and then go into that bar and like break that bar down before going back in. So, and it's funny, I never even got to do, still to this day, Family Matters and Meet the Grahams, I've never even done a lyrical breakdown on, because I didn't have time. Like I literally, I couldn't even process.
You know what? That's why we got 1 year anniversaries. That's why we got 1 year anniversary videos. It's time.
There it is.
There are people, and I would love to hear your feedback. There are people right now who are like, Curtis, you're not sick of this content. I said, there have been some of us waiting 15 years for this to finally happen. For those of us that heard the control verse, for those of us that knew there was something below the surface by seeing this reaction that Drake had, someone has been waiting on this. And then when it happened and it surpassed our own expectations of what it could be, we're going to talk about this, because it's not like it ever had a stopping point and people went back to their corners.
They kept going. Both sides have done things since then that you're like, we can't stop talking. And the thing about it is, what's crazy is like, what else has happened that's more interesting? Like, I get it. Like, stop talking. What do you want me to talk about that's more interesting than this? Like, you don't, like, you viewing this, that's saying that you don't even want to hear me talk about like some random ass artist for like 50 minutes. Like, give them 10 minutes, but you want to hear about the shit. So don't even come at me with that. We're over it. It's a year later.
And then my thing is, I don't think they understand, and you understand it because you obviously you've been on YouTube for a minute, and you found success in many different platforms. You understand. Do you understand? You just increased the click-through rate, and now your timeline's going to serve you up more of this stuff. Like you just invited yourself to be a part of a news feed that now shows you even more, and it's kind of warping people's reality, because they're like, everybody's talking about it. not seeing that one of them says 4 weeks ago, 4 months ago, 10 months ago, last week. So I think people got to stop engaging with it. But the thing about it is, it's like it just keeps calling people, and then things keep happening. Nobody. My question is, that's my question too. Why didn't he just go away for a minute? Why do you think he didn't just go away for a minute? Or why not, instead of the Australian tour, why not do a Toronto pop out?
I asked myself that question a lot. Like I would ask it out loud too to him and his team. I think we would have looked at things very differently from he's not going to win over some people. Like there are people, like let's be honest. There's people that dropped off after the ghostwriting that he'll never win back. There's people that dropped off after Pusha T. Like there's people that you're not going to win over. And like, I think he maybe came to terms to some degree with losing the hip hop heads. I think he thought that he could win back the hip hop heads with the Kendrick beef. Like, I think he thought, like, let me show them. Like, because at his heart, he is a rapper. Whatever you want to say about it, he wants to be the top rapper because he could have distanced himself fully if he wanted to. He had hits. He had other genres. He could have just said, I'm done. Like, I'm out. Like, forget that crowd. Now, he kind of mentioned it a little in his interview with Elliott. He's like, I'm never going to win over your comment section. But I think with the battle, he really wanted to win over that crowd to some degree. And if we're being honest with ourselves, there's some people, again, that, like I said, that would never give him that credit. But there's some people that are around the push-ups time, tailor-made time. They're like, this guy has a chance. Like, it wasn't over at that point.
No, but even to that point, and I remember I was interviewing Glasses, and he said this, and I had to really think about it. Yeah, those are records that I could see him dropping as, like, Boy Wonder production, or like 40 productions that are in between an album, right? They're just loosies. But none of those songs were signature in your Drake bag. Like, say we're going with the theory of, I'm not going to win over the hip hoppers and all of the folks in these comment sections, but I'm going to do the back-to-back. I'm going to do the charged up. We didn't really get that until the closest thing might be Family Matters. You don't get the catchy hooks. You don't get the things that make you. And it was just really like, well, what is he trying to prove in this scenario? And what's the strategy? And every song, it was just, at some point, I kind of felt like he was just dropping songs because he wanted to see what Kendrick was going to do next too.
Yeah, he had to make, and yeah, it's a good point though. Like, it's like it was confusing. The whole thing was confusing. But back to your original question is why he didn't just go away. After the Hard Part 6, let's just put a hypothetical out there. Let's just say he went away 6 months, okay? You don't hear a word. Like, you don't see him on tour. He's not posting on Instagram. Like, you don't even know what he's doing. Your question, you're like, is he okay? That's like, you're in your mind, the only question you have is like, is he all right? Like, is Drake okay after this? What's he going to do next? And he came back and dropped, maybe I'll give him in Drake fashion. Let's say he dropped Nokia and he dropped like a timestamp type like rap record explaining what he's been going, like even like the Fighting Irish freestyle. If it was like Fighting Irish freestyle paired with Nokia, the same way that he did like a back-to-back or a Charged Up paired with Hotline Bling, which came out on the same day, which is crazy. If he did something like that, I think 6 months after, you're like, oh shit, like he can still make a hit, and wow, he's really reflecting on what he went through and like where he's at, and he still feels like he can get back to where, like, we would look at things much differently. To answer your question as to why, I honestly think pride. I think, listen, he has an important bar in Do Not Disturb. Drake said, you got to be faster than me to get to me. No one's done it successfully. And he had another bar where he said, I forget what he said. Like, I probably do something if I ever lose, but I never do. Like, I probably go crazy if I ever lose, but I never do. I forget the exact bar. We saw that actually happen. He was actually so high on his horse, understandably, from like being bulletproof and beating Meek and competing with Common, and even though Pusha beat him and he dropped out of that battle, he came back with a hit and a hit and a hit and a hit, and he's bigger than ever now. I do think he was almost like rattled to the point where it's like, I don't know what to do. Like, wait, people are people actually, there's no, and I think to answer your question of why he didn't go Toronto is he knows he has Toronto. Like he could do OVO Fest tomorrow and he'll sell it out.
Right.
He was wondering, am I still a global star? Like he could have done America, and I have no doubt in my mind that he could sell out an arena probably in most places. Maybe he doesn't sell out 6 shows in LA. Well, I don't know if you want to do that or go to Oakland. But
I don't think you want to go to Oakland.
You know, like maybe you never do a show in Oakland again. I think that's fine. But he was like, can I still be a global star? Maybe I lost completely now the hip hop crowd. Maybe I'm never going to be like considered in that realm. I'll have my fans, but I think he wanted to test, what does my impact look like outside the country? I think that's why he did Australia.
So the reason I asked that, and that's the last question I had about that, because I definitely got some more in here, but the reason I asked about that original question is not so much whether or not he needed to test the waters or the temperature of his hometown or, you know, of Toronto. It was more so because the biggest criticism that came out of this was, you're a colonizer, you're uncultured. And to me, that was the opportunity to be like, oh, no, like, you know, these are all my folks. And these are the artists that now I could put them on a stage. Like I talked to a few, you know, different media personalities about that. And some of them kind of echoed a lot of those sentiments, and that, you know, that was the time to really show. Because when you think about, somebody made this point, and this was their point, and I agree with it. But they said that when you think about Drake's music, at least more recently in his catalog, it's more so about himself first, and then things that are adjacent that are affecting him. With Kendrick, you get to know about where he's from. You get to know about the people that have affected his life the most. And it's almost like, even though you get this very personal music, it doesn't, except for Mr. Morale, it doesn't focus all the way in just me. It's like me last in this, and he's telling stories from vicariously, like, I promise that you will sing about me. It's always giving someone else the opportunity to get their story told. And in that, you start to see, you know, the difference in character. But that was the moment. That was the moment to just be like, look, man, look, this is the culture right here. This is okay. I'm with the culture right here is feeling.
Yeah. Well, I think, and I won't say that Drake didn't do that in terms of, like, I feel like I got to know through his music, the people around him, his crew, his come up, his story a lot. It is Drake centric, same way that Kanye's music is Kanye centric, and it's their lens on the world, but it's very much about them, which is, again, a very particular, I always said, like, Drake made daily music, Kendrick made maybe yearly sit down music. Like To Pimp a Butterfly and Nothing Was the Same, the difference between those two albums is Nothing Was the Same. It's the emotions you go through on a day-to-day basis. Like you're, you know, even furthest thing. It's like, I'm struggling with, am I there yet? Or am I where I'm at? And I was in a relationship, and what do I want? And To Pimp a Butterfly is, what is society going through? Like, what is actually happening? What does it mean to be Black in America? What has it meant historically? How do I fit into that? How do I keep my roots and still maintain my authenticity as I grow in success and maintain money and power and what? So it's like, those are just two very different almost genres of music, which is, there's room for both of those things. But I liked both of them. Like I think that where Drake, you know, lost some people, I don't think he has still so many, he's the biggest artist in the world. So like I'm a fan still. But where he lost maybe some people, and for me, it was maybe on like For All the Dogs, is I feel like I didn't really get an update on his life. And I feel like that's where Kanye lost me along the way too. I never got any more insight into Kanye's mind, or maybe when I got into their mind, I didn't like what I saw. And I was like, maybe there wasn't anything left for me. But to answer the pop-up, to answer the pop-up question, it's funny because if anything could have been a response, I didn't like the Nokia video for the fact that it became a response to Not Like Us, right? But had he used the opportunity to respond to anything, if you're gonna do it, right? Like I would have said not to do it. I would have said just leave it alone, go away, and come back out. But if you are going to respond to things Kendrick is doing in ways that matches through the music, to do a concert in Toronto and bring people on, or some sort of mixtape, it would have felt like a response. It would have. Everyone would have like you know, but that would have been something you could have done. I would have just said, be quiet, but he could have done something like that. That would have been better than the Nokia video response, I think.
All this is telling me is that a lot of these rappers need more Jeremys on the squad, or not more Jeremys. At least they need to have a consultation with you, because that sounds like very sound advice of how to maneuver. Because even we've seen artists that have gone through public, embarrassments, whether it's because of some stuff they got broke on TMZ or an embarrassing video, they disappear. It's somebody they got the same PR. They disappear and they come back with a cryptic video that is shot in black and white, and it's like, you've probably been having questions. Well, you're going to get the answers to all your questions on May 23rd. And it's like the big cinematic sound effect, and it gets there. But we never got that, and it happened the way it happened for a reason. You talked about some content that you had that went really, really viral on TikTok. I got an opposite question. Is there any underrated moments you're still proud of that maybe perhaps the algorithm may have slept on when it comes to your channel, or just content in general?
Mm-hmm. I would say it's been a mix, right? Like, it's like on the bigger picture today, we were talking about, like, Head was saying, like, your art is for you, your records are for the people. And I think it's this balance, right? Like, even in this conversation, it's like, we could talk like esoteric all day, but like, it's a balance of like, we're giving game to people who need to hear it and insight to people who need to hear it. But we're also going to give people that conversation we just had for the people that want to see that too. Like, so you might come in for this and stay for the second thing, right? So it's like, I feel like I've been trying to balance that. And that's always been a struggle of like, wherever I can insert light into the space in a way that's organic, whether that be like speaking about God or speaking about spirituality or speaking about intuition, or like things where it's like, this is my passion at my core. I feel like I have this message to give. I try to insert it into the big moments so that it's seen, but there's always things that I'm like, I thought this video was amazing and nobody saw it, and I didn't think anything of this video and it went viral. If anything, it's just taught me not to overthink. Like, if I feel like something, post it. If I'm inspired and I don't have the time to edit, just talk to the camera. If I feel like, oh, I don't have all these thoughts, but I have this one potent thought, like, post a 15-second video. I'm really trying to get better at that. Like, do you struggle with that? Like, because how do you decide what to react to and what to actually...
You know what helps me struggle a lot less with that, what you're talking about? Because I still have my moments where I'm human and I look and I'm like, really? This is what y'all were asking for? At least I thought this was I always think to myself, okay, it must be something I did. Is it a thumbnail? Is it the title? But I used to say this thing about music, because with video, for me, it's a lot easier for me to make this content. The process of doing it is a lot easier. It's a lot less steps than producing a beat, than, writing lyrics and thinking about a theme and bringing these pieces together, getting features back, mixing and mastering. It's so many more steps. I came up with this theory, and I call it the Elliott theory when it came to music, right? Elliott is one of my favorites of all time. And I said, I call it the Elliott 1 in a million theory. I put it in my brain. You're going to try in this lifetime to make 1 million songs. You won't, but that's your goal. If you're going to make 1 million songs, how much emphasis and how much overthinking do you want to do on song 742? How much do you just want to be in the moment and say, this is a moment of many, and I appreciate it. I'm here, present, but at the same time, this is 1 in a million. I think it helps me to like relieve and balance it out. So with the content, I tell myself, what are you doing this for, Curtis? What are you doing here? Are you a content creator? Or are you a view hoarder? And for me, I'm like, I'm a content creator. First of all, I'm a creator. Shout out to Salas. Back when he used to manage me, he would tell me, he said, hold on, Curtis, I think you need to understand this. Yeah, you go by the title of rapper and producer, but never forget that you're a creator first. That helped me out and freed me of so much pressure to whether I'm just like, well, creators create. I saw a quote today, and I'm gonna see if I can try to pull this up, but I saw a quote today from a Instagram account called Content or Create and Repost or Repeat. And I have it right here. It says, somewhere along the way, creative became synonymous with performer. Social platforms blurred the line, turning artists into brands and the process into content. But creativity was never about performance. It was about feeling, exploring, processing, connecting. Here's the bar. They said, performers create for applause. Creatives create for truth. So, oof. And it ends it out and it says, one isn't better than the other, but if you're stuck chasing validation, maybe it's time to return to where it all started. Create to feel, not to perform. I get these messages and I'm like, okay, I'm done fighting with this. This is what game am I actually playing?
That is so potent. Like, that is so true. And I think a lot of people, and I'm sure you have so many creatives in your community too, whether it be musicians, they're all doing something creative.
Right.
We tend to lose along the way the thought of creating for the sake of it rather than for the result of it. And I think I myself feel guilty sometimes to do things simply for myself. Like, we always talk about do it yourself, but who are you doing it for? When does the last time you did it for yourself? Like,
you gotta relax. You gotta relax. You gotta relax. When you're cooking like that, please tell the guest that the grease might pop around them. Go ahead, sir.
All right, you're right. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. You're doing it by yourself, but when's the last time you did it for yourself? Wow. And I think the truth is we very rarely do. Like, I remember us sitting there one time and you know what? I was actually on a mushroom trip. Okay. I haven't dabbled in psychedelics this year. I'm fully sober, no drinking, no smoking, no mushrooms this year. But
it's the second time we're hearing it this week. I'm jealous of these folks, man, because I'm too much of an overthinker and hypochondriac. I'd be so jealous. But everybody that I'm talking to that has such a beautiful spirit, man, y'all done gone through that process. Maybe that's the last thing that I got to go through and fight. But go ahead.
Hey, if you need, when you're ready, when the time comes, I'll guide you through it. But I remember I used to do it about once a year. I'd go like a heavy trip. Like, I would like just sit by myself and like, what do I want? How do I want to break free? And I remember I listened back. I recorded a podcast while I was on mushrooms for myself. And I was like, let me document the journey. And I listened back on the plane the other day, about a year later. I literally said this out loud. I said, this is just a podcast for me. This is episode 1. I'm going to document myself. And I said like something and I figured it was a mistake. And then I was like, well, it doesn't matter. Like, who's going to listen anyways? And then I said, wait, I actually feel guilty recording this just for myself. Wow. Why is it that I feel guilty to do something simply for myself that no audience is going to see? And I feel like our creativity has been so trained to reach people and to get a result back. But just because you have no bounce back on the creativity does not mean the creativity doesn't exist. If you create something, you're just putting more creativity into the world. So sometimes you might create and you might do something that leads to the thing you needed to do. You might make a script or a video or a song or a beat that you have no intention of putting out, but that freed your mind up so that you opened it enough to create the video that blew up or the song that went crazy or whatever it was that gained you a new audience. So I think that's a really important convo for any creative out there, is like, create for the sake of it.
And I think also for those who are trying to find, I don't really try to achieve balance when it comes to creativity, because it's just the measurements are so hard to predict at times. Like, how do I compare an hour of time making music to an hour of time with my son? It's not the same measurement of our exertion of energy. So I try to look at it and I say, well, how do I find harmony in all this? Achieving harmony is so much more doable, because it's like, well, in order to achieve harmony between my responsibilities as a dad, I have to be present when it's time to be present. Or I get to be present, I should say. And same thing with my wife. Like, we have our own harmony and all of this stuff that's going on. But as a creative, I'm realizing those moments where I am selfish and I know that I'm being selfishly creating, they're just as important as the moments that I do things on camera. And I realized 2 things. One, me taking the time to say, today's a day for Curtis King to just make a beat. And it's not to impress anybody. It's not because it's content. It's not because of me trying to achieve anything. Today's a day for just Curtis King. It makes the content that I do in front of people even better, because I feel like those are the ankle weights I needed to give me a little bit more boost or more hops in what I'm doing. And I think that because everything is so much about monetize your passions, we forget that the moment we monetize our hobby, we lose a hobby. And we never replace that. Right. Shout out to my guy, Good Luck. He talked about that with me. He's like, we never replace that hobby. And what happens is the last hobby we truly love so much that we would invest money into the hobby, it became our career. And now it's like, well, what do you do when you're just, when was the last time you made a damn puzzle? Like put a puzzle together.
Yeah. It's been a minute.
Really, because it's like at that time I feel guilty. Like I feel guilty with free time, Jeremy. I have times where I'm just like, am I not supposed to be in, like, even vacation? I'm like, have I earned that? But I know that has to do a
real
lot of
thing
coming up. That's real. Yeah,
that's real. Like when you're always on the go, and it's very hard for highly ambitious people who are always consistently trying to accomplish and create to relax, because you feel like I'm not doing enough. And it's almost a form of imposter syndrome. You're like, what? You're like, I need to do more. Like, it's okay, bro. Relax, sit down. Yeah. Watch a TV show every once in a while. Like, it's gonna be all right. And it was a good point you made about the hobby thing, because it's so funny. Like, my YouTube channel. So I'm from Canada, as you know, but that also means that my visa is tied to certain things. So I can only monetize myself in certain ways. As a public figure, I don't really monetize myself. I make money through my job. So my YouTube videos are actually one of the very few things that is still a hobby for me. Like, it's not something I'm, at least not right now, that I'm able to monetize. And people like think I'm fucking around, but like I literally, like, I can have AdSense. I just can't have AdSense. So it's like one of the things where even when I neglect making YouTube videos for my own channel, sometimes it's because I'm just neglecting myself. Like, I'm just neglecting creating for the sense of creating versus creating for my job elsewhere. Or like rapping for now, like whenever I write bars now, which isn't that often, it's reigniting a hobby for me that I had where I was never really making money off of it. So I think that's a balance that I think somebody watching is going to relate to that.
Yeah, there's a gentleman. I don't know why his name is escaping me. I bought all his books, but he's a gentleman that makes a bunch of books on stoicism. And I remember buying one
Ryan Holiday.
You already knew who it was. Ryan Holiday. Yeah. Stillness is the Key met me a year, almost a few months or a year before the actual pandemic. Oh my God. And I went through my own pandemic in a sense of I made myself lock the doors and only go out when I was going to take walks for meditation, because I got to a point, Jimmy, where there's not a lot of people. There's a lot of people who have advice on how to get to achieve your goals, right? Let's say like your level 6, level 7 goals as you're trying to get to a 10, 12, 20. Nobody tells you what happens when you get to a level and your mind says, I think that might be it. And I don't really have any motivation to get it. Like, I have everything that I need. I'm no longer motivated because I'm in poverty. I'm no longer motivated because, damn, I'm trying to prove people wrong. Now it's like, okay, you got some of the things that you achieve. And I really went through a moment where I was like, what am I doing this for? What is my why? Why am I so far away from the actual thing that started this whole thing, which is music? And it's just like, I had to do a lot of soul searching, but that book, Stillness is the Key, talks about that's where you got to find hobbies, and you also got to find things to do that are physical, because so much of our life is digital and so much of our life is in front of screens. They were like, go find something that makes you sweat. Like, go build something that you don't know how to build. Go be bad at something and watch how it makes your art 10 times better. It was the best advice I ever got.
Yeah, shout out to Ryan Holiday. I love that book. Ego is the Enemy was the first one I read from him, and then Stillness. And it's funny because when I was almost gonna hit your somebody got to tell the truth button when you were like no one ever everyone talks about how to get to your goals. No one tells you what to do when you get there. Like, it's so funny because you almost, when you work so hard for something. And I remember somebody told me this. Shout out to, his name's Charles Holmes. He was a writer at Rolling Stone at the time. I think he's at the Ringer now. But I used to cold email people when I was coming up, and I would just be like, hey, 60 seconds of your time. I just have one question, and I would just ask for advice. And they would a lot of the times respond because it was a pretty low lift. I learned it from a book called The Third Door, where he was he gave you this email template. It was the description on the email was, dear Mr. Blank, this will only take 60 seconds of your time. kid looking for advice or something like that.
Mm.
And so I would send it in that template. It was like, do your research, give them something that you would know about them because you've done your research, give them 2 lines about yourself and what you're trying to accomplish, and then ask them 1 question or ask for a phone call. And if not, ask them to respond with 1 sentence in email. And it was like, most of the time they respond email. And I remember asking for advice. I was like, hey, I've been doing some interviews. This was like before, like I was doing some YouTube stuff, but I wasn't like super successful. And he was like, you're gonna reach this is his advice. He was like, you're gonna reach your goals quicker than you think. So never set the bar as like your be all end all of what you think in this moment your dream is. He's like, always consistently dream much bigger than you think because you'll get much closer, much quicker. And I remember like thinking shortly after that, I would start to hit some of those goals. Like all I ever wanted to do was interview the biggest artists in the world and spark cultural conversations that mattered. I started interviewing Jadakiss and The Game and Exhibit, and these interviews, and Jeezy, and these interviews for Hip Hop DX were going viral and starting cultural conversation. And like, this is in 2019, you know, like Joe Budden and Complex and all these people are they're not mentioning me, but they're mentioning the work that I did, which was always
attached to,
which always was my dream. And so I was like, oh shit, I reached it. Okay, let me go way further. But then even then, now I'm at the way further, and now you're there and you're like, okay, well, what do I do now? And so I think it's like, part of it is what you're talking about. Part of it is dreaming bigger, but part of it is how do you bask in the present moment and be okay with, I'm right here and I'm living in it. It's
funny. It is tough. It is tough. And it's funny because this is going to lead to my next question about the bigger picture. But DJ Head hit me one time. He was asking for book suggestions years and years ago. And I told him there is no more important book right now than Grant Cardone's 10X Rule. And it literally echoes the things that you're talking about, is that instead of, don't set your goal to be, $1,000, set it to $100,000, because the energy that it's going to require to achieve that one will allow you to shoot for the moon and land on the stars kind of concept, where the energy that it really requires for wherever you're at, it's probably going to be the 10X type of energy that you need to get it, because most people will do just enough and fall short, and then they'll just give up. So very important, because to this day, it's like those are elements that I still think to myself when I'm being insecure about, like, am I doing too much content? I hear Grant Cardone is like, double it down, Curtis. And I'm like, all right, well, let's keep it going. So, man, talk to me about how the bigger picture, man, a show that I love so much that you guys drop it on Saturday, because it's just, it's giving me back that feeling again. There's a lot of shows right now. Culture United is one of those. It's giving me back that Teen Summit feeling, that 106 in Park, that TRL feeling of like, oh, we're here. We're all here because we love music enough to watch videos we already have access to. Or just to talk about music we already own.
Yeah.
I love that we're in that, but you guys dropping on Saturdays, I think, has been a delight, even if, sometimes Head be pissing me off with some of these takes on independent artists.
I know that, yeah.
That's my dog, but Lord. But no, talk to me about how the bigger picture came to be with DJ Head and Elliott Wilson. How did that trio form?
It's so funny because things happen beyond our control sometimes, and like all I can say is it felt like moments of fate led up to that, and that years were working, and just like God was just in the building, but it wasn't a part of our plans. I'll say that, like, it wasn't our plan. For example, I'll tell my perspective of the story. I was at Lovers and Friends Festival that weekend that Family Matters and Meet the Grams and Not Like Us came up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Lovers and
Golly. it just dawned on me that that's a 3-day span. Somebody said Kendrick wrapped him up in 5 business days, and I have not slept since, but continue.
It was so on the way, we're driving to Vegas and listening 616 in LA came out. So like that whole day to me was, we're listening to Push Ups, Tailor Made, and 616, and then Euphoria and 616 in LA, just those 4 on loop, and like that, and like we're just like playing it back to back, and I'm like going through theories as to what's going to happen next. It was not in my plan. I think I had heard maybe a rumor that Drake was dropping that night, but it was not in my plan that like Family Matters, Meet the Gram, not like that wasn't in my plan. I was just trying to go see Nelly and have a good time. You know what I mean?
What's up with Nelly? He said, "Look, I was just trying to go see Nelly. That's all
Shout
I was
out
trying
to
to do."
Nelly. I was trying to just
sweat and suit. Can we please give some overdue respect to
Sweat and Suit, classic double album, 2 sides.
2 sides.
So the festival gets canceled. So we're driving back Saturday morning, and I get a text. It was like a group text with like our producers, and it was from the founder and owner of UPROXX, Jared Meyer. He was also the founder of Raucous Records, so he has like a real like hip hop origin. And he brought on Elliott, and Elliott became like the head of hip hop journalism at UPROXX. And I had been with Hip Hop DX for 5-6 years at that point. And at that point, I was kind of like one of the very few people left in terms of the video side doing content. There was a lot of great writers, but I was one of the very few people who was like making, content on the social side and on the YouTube side. And I was in charge of all the red carpet videos. I was doing script writing. I was kind of doing a lot of stuff that no one asked me to do. No one was asking me to do lyric breakdowns for their Instagram. I just was doing them. And at that point, they were gaining like we were getting, 200,000 to 300,000 views every lyric breakdown on Instagram.
Wow.
And so Elliott had seen that, and he was like, "Oh, this kid's dope." Like, he was very supportive the minute I walked in. He was very much like, "How can I help this kid go? How can I help you and be supportive of everything you're doing?" He was reposting me and, shouting me out. And so our boss basically texted me and Elliott and was like, "Hey, you guys should do a show. This moment is happening in hip hop. We're a hip hop channel. Like, what can we do? Like, do it something with Hip Hop DX and UPROXX, and you guys figure it out." And so we made a list of people. I think I still have the list of people in my phone. And I was like making a list of potential guests that we would call in. It was supposed to be a one-time special where we would call in guests. It's like kind of like this. It'd be like, let's say I call in Curtis, and it's me and Elliott on a stage. We call in Curtis. Curtis, what are your thoughts on the battle so far? Okay, cool. All right, Problem. Like, what's your thoughts on Glasses? Like all the people that were maybe in our network. But the first person I had on the list was none other than DJ Head.
Shout out to him. Come on.
And let me see. Crazy. Let me see where this list is. 2024. This would have been.
Wow.
List of potential guests. Okay, here you go. May 4th, 2024. He was second on the list. It was Problem. This is actually the first time I'm reading this back. This is funny. Problem, DJ Head, Charlemagne, Academics, Rob Markman, Nyla Simone, The Game, Simba, Reason, Big Boy, Alchemist, Boy Wonder, Top Dog, and Gilly. That was our list of call-in guests that we thought we could reach out to from both of our networks.
That's an insane list, no matter what, though.
It's a great list. If you got all those people in the room, it would be absolute chaos today, but it would also be incredible. So I remember Elliott was like, he's like, you know what? What if we just got Head to come in? I'm going to hit him. Let's just do us 3 for now. Like, he was like, let's just do us 3. It was supposed to be called, I found the file yesterday. It was supposed to be called DX Takeover, which is like Hip Hop DX Takeover, which would have been a horrible name in terms of like a show, but it was good for like a one-off. And then that morning, because the Big L connection with Raucous Records, Elliott was like brainstorming names. He's great at names, and he came up with a bigger picture. And the first graphic was Elliott Wilson, Jeremy Hecht featuring DJ Head as a guest. Then that morning, Elliott's like, let's switch it. So on screen, then it switched. It was Elliott Wilson, Jeremy Hecht, and DJ Head. And it just felt like everyone in the room. I had met Head before, like on red carpets. Like, I actually had a clip. That's how we opened. If you watch episode 1, I opened with showing a carpet clip where I'd asked DJ Head about, hey, do you think we're ever going to see Drake and Kendrick go at it on record? Literally, it was 2022. I asked him that, and he said, no, I don't think so. There's too much business behind it. And then Elliott, the first time I met Elliott was on a red carpet, and I said, Elliott, I got to ask you one question. Do you feel like your interview after the Control verse was responsible for Drake and Kendrick's ascension into the subliminal war? And he was with B-Dot at the time. B-Dot's laughing. He's like, I'm gonna let him handle this. And Elliott actually told a story about how Kendrick's at Summer Jam, and during the Rapper with a Ghostwriter, he literally turns, you can find the video. And I pieced it together and put this out, and it went viral on Twitter. And he literally goes, hey, Elliott, a rapper with a ghostwriter, what the fuck happened? And he said it so passionately. And so Elliott told me that story, and I pieced it together. And so my first interaction with DJ Head and Elliott, or one of my first interactions with Head, are about Kendrick and Drake.
Wow.
So then I'm sitting.
What it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
It's meant to be. So, and I remember sitting there in the middle, and I was all like shy and nervous at that moment. Because I felt like, what the fuck is happening? But like everyone in the room felt like, wow, this is something. It's hard to put 3 people in a room and have chemistry. Like people cast that for like a long time. So we all just happen to have we're all different age groups. We have 3 generations of people. We're all from different places. We all have completely different experiences and different industry levels. And it was just like, oh, this works. So Elliott asked Head, like, hey, can you come back? We have no real plan, but let's do it again. And Head's like, sure. And then we did. It's almost been a year.
Man, and I salute. First of all, we got a round of applause for that, because that the way that came together is insane. And we know, you know, we playing God Laughs, and there's so many elements. You're right, that have to happen. One, you got to have the chemistry, the availability, because all of y'all are busy in your respective, fields and whatnot. But then you have the best content you could ever ask for in hip hop. In the midst of this battle, there was just so many things that happened that it was like it was meant to be. I'll tell you this. Okay. And I say this with all due respect to Elliott, but I know Elliott has had, he had a rough beginning of 2025. And, he was very vocal about some of his criticism of, the streamers and other outlets and just the direction in general of where artists are going in hip hop media. I'll say this. I have a very different perspective of him the year before versus what I saw on the bigger picture. And it's simply because I feel like, because you guys have such different personalities, and I really wonder like who's the most, and I have a feeling I already kind of know the answer, but I kind of want to know, how does that dynamic work? Because I know you guys see all the noise on the outside, and I'm sure that you guys give each other a hard time, like, why you sit at the camera on, or whatever the case may be. Like, how does that dynamic work? And because I do look at it just as a viewer, and I say it's super dope to see him be able to laugh at himself. Because so much of hip hop media when I came up was very like, you never put yourself in a place where you'll, look less than appealing in a moment. But I love the moments where he's just like, you know what, you guys are right. How does that dynamic work?
It's funny because I feel like in the same way that you got to see me grow in real time with like my stature and how I was navigating the media space, I think you got to see us all grow live in different ways in our dynamic. Like you got to see mine and Head's relationship become like a real friendship on screen, and there's like the banter, and you're like, is he just hazing him? And then you're like, oh no, like they're actually boys. And then like you got to see like me and Elliott more of like a mentor-mentee relationship, and like really like learning, I feel like I've learned so much from him, but I feel like he's also learning on the show in terms of like how he feels about the media space, how he feels about certain artists. And also it's like, he's very self-aware, even though there's times where he's so passionate and he's going to crash out. Like he's very self-aware of, he knows when it's happening in the moment. And he's just so passionate. Like what I will say about Elliott, and I said this earlier today, is the one thing I learned is that he is truly as passionate as you think he is based on a clip. Like he lives and breathes hip hop. This guy, he's not jaded at all. He's been through everything in the industry experience wise, but he is not jaded to the point where he doesn't love this shit. And so I think his passion gets the best of him sometimes, but it's real. Like that is not made up for the camera. So I think it's dope to see and inspiring to see somebody who's been around for that long and still wants to perform at the highest level and is still that passionate. And then with Head, I think he's still wanting, and then with Head, I think it's like his growth comes in the fact that like he's really stepping into who he is and like being the Coast Guard and being the West Coast voice that's now cutting through and, you know, being able to speak to all the topics that only he can speak to. And, you know, people always joke about him being like so vague and, you know, not giving up the mystery and like, you know, but I think he's even grown in that sense of like, he knows exactly what to say, what not to say. And he'll drop Easter eggs and hints. And then you'll be like, oh, that's what he was talking about. So, and then me, I think being like the younger brother almost to both of them, of still being so wide-eyed and like still like believing in the magic of even though I've been in the industry for 10 years, it's not like I'm that naive, you know, but still believing like that there's possibility in some of this. And why I said if Kendrick and Drake were dapping up on stage, I might quit. Like if I saw them and like I said, if it was less than 25 years and Kendrick and Drake are on stage doing a show together, I probably would retire a microphone because I'd be like, I just wasted 5 years of my life. Like, what am I? But
there's a part of me that kind of felt like that when Game and 50 Cent piece it up. And then I thought to myself, that look on the Game's face doesn't feel like this is done at all in the least bit. But if that happened, I'm with you. Me and you we're gonna figure out some retirement plans.
Yeah, we'll go on a vacation.
We're going on vacation. I'm for sure finna do some psychedelics then. I'll tell you that right now.
That's a deal.
That's a deal. You know, and kind of staying on that subject, I had recently Mick Jenkins was on my platform, and he was really open about a lot of things that he sees in this current climate, because one thing that can't be debated is that we're all going through a transition. You know, you talked about, you know, and I gotta say this, but I'm proud to see DJ Head evolving the way that he did, because he was in such denial in the beginning of, I'm not a journalist, I'm not media, I'm just a guy. Like you can't do that no more when you getting highly requested in different places. But I feel like so much of that dynamic, we watched it in real time, because I sat there and I watched these episodes and I was like, it's dope to see everybody knows, okay, Jeremy's about to cook right now and he's about to have his crash out. I don't know why, but I get most excited about your crash outs, because there's a part that's like, you go from the most of the episode where you just giving the topics and you're like, yeah, then you're like, but you know what? That's the most exciting part of it, because I'm like, and they just sitting there quiet, letting you go ahead and cook. But like I said, I had Mick Jenkins recently on my platform, and he made a statement about current hip hop media focusing too much on gossip and not enough on the music. As someone that is responsible for shaping the narratives, you know, kind of how do you, what's your response to hearing that?
I try my very best to always start with music. So if it sparks from the actual music, I'll talk about it. For example, like the list of topics I had today was J. Cole and Dreamville Fest, but it was also like the fall off, the music that he played, his catalog. We talked about Wayne's catalog, his actual music, his impact, the Carter Six, what he wants with his album. Now, when it comes to Drake and Kendrick, I think everything is a little blurred, but it also starts at the music. Even my crap, like the clip that went viral of me saying that Drake has lost some of his female fan base, like I was talking about the music. Like that started with a line off of Give Me a Hug that I just like passionately went off about, right? Like,
same way, though. You said,
yeah, so it's like
with you.
It became, but it's like, so the music to me, at what I do, or a lyric breakdown, like we're talking about the bars, like I really, really, really dislike straying away from that unless I feel like it stemmed from the music. Now, I'm not perfect. There's times where I'm interested in stuff that I might bring up, and it's like I might get caught in a little bit of like media back and forth or what, you know. But for the most part, I think my goal is always, did it start with the music and spread outward? If it's just outward and never intersects with the music, let's leave it alone.
Yeah, and that's something I'm just asking in general, because I think you do such a tremendous job at it. I think that's why artists like myself stay so tapped into what you're doing, because we know that it's being delivered from somebody who's passionate about the music. And I mean, it's funny, but when I really zoom out of all the issues that I have with certain, you know, media personalities, certain issues that I have with certain artists, it comes down to one word, Jeremy. Care. Like, people have been so devoid of emotion or so focused on, you know, their bottom line that it's like, do you even care? Even when I listen to Elliott and I have moments where maybe I don't agree with the stance, I hear he cares.
He cares. Yes.
And that's a language that I speak fluently and that I care about the lyrics. He cares about this thing. He cares about his field. And I think we need more of that. I think there was a period of time where maybe through the vehicle of social media posts and inspirational gurus, they made caring seem like you were a try hard for caring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So do you think hip hop journalism is in this era getting better or worse as more media moves to social media first content?
I think it's different. I wouldn't necessarily say better or worse. I think it's evolving, and with every evolution and with the opening of doors and less gatekeeping, you're gonna get more of everything. You'll get more worse and you'll get more good. For example, Spotify and DSPs and problems with the payouts aside, just in terms of like how easy it is to upload a song onto YouTube or SoundCloud or Spotify, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get way more artists, right? So you'll get like 1 million songs a day versus the 15 albums that you got every week that we could all look at when it was a CDs in the store. With that is going to come a whole lot of dope shit and a whole lot of bad shit. And like, I think hip hop media is in the same wavelength. You're going to get somebody who succeeds on this end of things through salacious gossip, and you're going to get a lot of clones of that and people who feel like that's the way to go. And you're also going to get people who are succeeding and care and have journalistic integrity and are from the cloth of, Justin Hunt. And you're going to get a lot of people that try to emulate that. So I think we're in a good space generally. I also like to look at the top and see what's at the top as a representation. Like I say Kendrick right now is at the top of the rap game, right? And so that's why I say, even though I don't think it's going to shape everything, I don't think every single person is going to try to rap like Kendrick Lamar. I think the trickle down effect we are going to see over the next few years is that people feel like it's okay to have some meaning. It's okay to have bars. It's okay to balance sounding good and having meaning. Like, I think we're going to see more of that. When you look at the top of hip hop media, I still give it to Joe Budden. What you talked about is he cares. He's very passionate. He still does like to break down lyrics. He does like to give music industry insight. There's a lot of other things, and they have their own reality show now basically with the cast. And I love like Mark Lamont Hill and the people there, but that's still the top. And so if that's the top, I feel good with where this is at. And I also started to see the stuff that we dislike, or at least this community dislikes. A lot of that's kind of falling apart. Like, you see it right in front of your eyes. It's kind of crumbling. And if you give things enough time, they'll implode. You don't have to explode it.
Random question. I didn't have this on my list. When Kendrick says, "Watch the party die," what do you think, Jeremy, is that party?
I think I interpreted it differently at the time than I maybe do now, but with a bird's eye view, it wasn't because we saw him hop on 3 Playboi Carti songs. I don't think it was as much about the music as it actually was about the industry. And I think having critique about Kendrick hopping on those songs is a valid criticism. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, you can't critique Kendrick. Like, you can call it hypocritical. It is like, that's fine. You actually can. But in terms of that song in particular, looking back, I think it was a response and a reaction to a lot of what was going on with Diddy. I think he was seeing the party, like the parties and party actually die. Like, I think he was really showcasing like, this part of the industry is shattering and there's going to be consequences to that. And a lot of that's why he has the bar in, I think, Whacked Out Murals, where he says like, a lot of you guys are laughing about, and then like Diddy's name is blurred out.
Obviously that's his name for sure.
A lot of you guys laughing about Diddy, but y'all are still on trial. Like, he was basically watching the bricks crumble and seeing at some point we're going to see the residual effects. Now, some of it was about the battle. Like, I'm not here to say like, let's ignore it. Like, some of it was about Drake. I just walked that man down, and part of it was a reflection on, like, I was saying, like, with his Air Forces, like he came home, he took his shoes off. He's like, look what I just did. Like, that was like creased up. My forces are creased the fuck up.
Let's put these on eBay. Let's put them on eBay now.
But I think, exactly. But I think the battle that he still struggles with is watching the party die and not knowing how much to contribute to it. Like, I think Kendrick is a very imperfect person. And I think even though the critique of him being hypocritical for hopping on a Cardi album is valid, there's also a lot of validity to the fact that he struggles with his morality. Like the fact that he mentioned D1 and Lecrae, he wasn't, and shout out to D1, I had a great combo with him at Dreamville Fest.
Shout out to
Those
him.
aren't guys that he's looking at and saying, oh, I'm on the same level morally as them. He's saying they are better than me morally, and I struggle to reach their level. He's like, if I was Lecrae, you would actually not hear me on a Playboi Carti album. You would not see me participating in the culture. You would not see me with a Lefty Gunplay and bringing up, underground LA rap. You would see me doing gospel rap right now and preaching, but I'm not there yet. I was in a war where I said some nasty shit, some dark shit, some shit that he probably doesn't feel great about. But he was in the midst of a war. He prayed right before on 616 in LA. He literally prayed and said, God, forgive me. Sometimes you got to go to war. I pray me, protect me for what I'm about to do. Thank you, God. And so I see it as like a reflection partly, and then partly his struggle with the changing landscape.
I love asking that question because, I think that's also a possible goal too, is look at the questions that it does spawn. Because of his style of writing, because he does, lean in sometimes on a whole lot of imagery and a lot of like, you're not taking them just at face value when you see these words. It's so multi-layered. We have a conversation about that where we say, well, what party would I want to see, or what party what do I see in terms of what's trending? I think the conversations we're having, to me, I have to zoom out sometimes. When I'm having an argument about what a lyric means, I have to zoom out and say, we're having an argument about lyrics. And I never try to forget that. So when I think about, the hypnotization of the audience, when I think of an audience that Professor Sky made a brilliant point on our interview where he said he kind of feels like the last era we got of vibe music was more so a reflection of all the distractions that kids had in their face in terms of screens, in terms of, things that were overstimulating their brain. And they just needed something that didn't make them think, but just sat in the background and didn't disturb them. Lo-fi beats and, just certain types of music that is made to just exist in the background. He said that, I was like, okay, but now we're seeing the repercussions of that. And I definitely want you to get your comment on it. We're seeing the repercussions of that because we look at that and we say, well, look at where the literacy rates are. Look at the things that in art contribute to us thinking and having deeper conversations that don't require a screen in front of us to have. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, quick question before I get my thoughts. Do you think this battle has been net positive or net negative for hip hop?
Net positive, without a doubt. It's not a hesitation in my mind. And I made this argument in a video recently in that I feel like because Drake chose a digital warpath and Kendrick chose a more, I call it an analog warpath, in that he said, Drake said, I'm going to use this alarm clock on my phone because what am I going to do? Get an analog clock from Walmart? Those things look ugly. They're clunky. Kendrick said, I'm going to give you guys nothing but songs. Matter of fact, I'm going to release one of them, or a few of them, on my Instagram page, and I'm going to make you listen to the whole thing. You can't fast forward on Instagram at this time. I'm going to make you sit with it. As he's making videos with fake, vans that are not even the van that's on Good Kid, Mad City, and he's making a very digital approach, Kendrick says, here's another piece of audio. And now we're sitting here, and Jeremy, I thought I'd never see the day where I get on TikTok and a 16-year-old white girl says, hey guys, here's 5 double entendres you might have missed in Euphoria. And I'm just like, what universe are we? This feels
get
like
him, Becky. Get him.
Let's go. Get him, Rebecca. When I saw that, I said, oh shit. This is an analog approach to things in a world that has been like, of course it's going to be digital. Like, when is it? The first question people had when Push-Ups drops is, when is it going to drop on streaming so I know it's official? When do we ever asked and demanded it to be on streaming for us to enjoy it? They were seeing things like CDQ version. It was like, no.
Yeah, you don't even know what that is.
So that's my answer. I think it's a net positive. I think that the things that we're seeing that may appear as negative, you got to think my mentality is always these are for the good, even when they're bad in my own life. Okay, these are ultimately for the good. Life is always happening for you and not to you.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy. So when I see these things happen, yeah, there's some things that I'm like, oh shit, I did not expect this OG to crash out like this. And I didn't want to see this rapper do this, but it happened. Well, good, because I didn't know him anyways. And I need to stop being under the assumption that I know him because I'm a fan of him. So I think a lot of things, even negative that are happening, are making me say, well, at least I know now. So that's how I answer that question.
No, that I'm with you. I'm with you. I was just curious because I know a lot of people have like the other opinion. I'm like, I do think it's been overall positive. And I think we're seeing the trickle down effect too. And I think the communities that you see, like the toxicity isn't a lot of people. It's just a loud few. But what was your question right before that though? It was about
I want to say, even if they're real, it might be bots as we're talking about that. The question I had, what was the question that I asked? I don't think I actually wrote that down, but it was basically, oh yeah, in reaction to what Professor Sky was saying about having all the distractions and needing just vibe music, quote unquote.
It's funny because I feel like that is where some of the vibe, like that's such a good point by Professor Sky, because now I'm thinking about like streaming culture, and it's like these kids, they even have like, they'll have music videos playing in the background on one screen on mute, and then they'll have a streamer that they're listening to who's listening to music in the background of their stream on another screen, and then they're texting all their friends on this, and then they're on, like, it's so much going on. And it's I even have trouble with like just watching a TV show without being on my phone. Like the one screen problem is real. Like
it's real. Oh my God, it's real.
Like, imagine having access to all of it as a kid when your brain isn't even developed, and so many people are you can message people and see their lives and tweet. So I do think it was like, they don't have time to sit down and consume To Pimp a Butterfly right now. Like that's just a hard ask. You listen,
but you know what they will do? They will do it if they know that there's beef involved. If they know there's a conflict involved, they're like, oh, I gotta be on the on this. I gotta know
what's he saying. So I do think we're at a point now though that people have been devoid of meaning for a really long time in their lives, and the pandemic really shook so much up that we're still dealing with the consequences of, like, people really had to rethink their whole life. People were inside, but I don't think people dealt with the consequences that has. But now you see it, like, politically, you see it in the economy, you see it in the world, you see it in wars, you see it, like, there's so much shit happening, and great art is always supposed to make sense of what's happening in the world. Not everything has to be like, I'm not one of those guys. You don't have to listen to Lupe Fiasco at the club. Like, it's fine. You can make fun music. You can have music that's just for that. There's always going to be that. But I do think we're at a point where there's an appetite. More people, there's like a faith resurgence. I've heard a lot more people speak about God, and a lot more people speak about their belief in higher powers than I ever have online. So there's a resurgence in that, but there's also a resurgence in the appetite for meaning within art. And I think there's going to be a few people who, shout out to my boss's son, actually said this to him, where there's going to be people who take the Playboi Carti sound and the sonic of what's going on right now and put some meaning into it and say some shit in a way that's still dope to the kids. That's going to be the next wave. We're not going to go fully backwards to a boom bap era, but we're going to go lyrical and meaningful and cool flows into the sonics of a fucking Uzi beat or a Playboi Carti rave sound.
We need that. And I'm sorry, did you land your point?
Yeah.
I was going to add to that, in that we act like when we talk about the golden age, whatever that age may be for whatever age group that you're in, we act like everything was perfect. And if we really sit there with an objective eye, we realize one of the biggest critiques I've seen of like Atlanta-based rappers or rappers that were successful on the radio in the last X amount of years is they're all mumbling. They're not saying anything. And then I think about some of these lyrical, spiritual, philosophi, hasitai, kasalai, and you look at the lyrics and you're like, this sounds great, right? All of these syllables sound great. What does it mean? Oh, you just not on to it. You just don't know any better. And that's when I had a thought. I said, when I saw that, you see that Shiggy video, Shiggy, the comedian, where he's like, son. I said, oh my God. I just know there's a bunch of rappers in that category that are pissed off because he just exposed the format, the template, because that existed. I always said the same criticism that some of the most underground hip hop heads have of Amigos, you're guilty of. What do I mean? Recycling the elements of what already works and not evolving it any further. Doing the same repetitive, like you find a boom bap beat, you find the same sample, the same type of sample chops, you rap the same way, your patterns don't switch up. You're guilty of the same thing. So it's like, it's not just a problem with the radio, it's a problem with people who don't want to evolve past their inspirations.
Busta Rhymes' Look at Me Now verse was not good.
Whoa, I did not expect that. Wait, what?
Listen, here's the thing. Wait
a minute. You gotta ease that one. You gotta
that it was fun. It was a fun song. So it wasn't supposed to. It's fine. It was fun. It was a fun club song. It doesn't need to be. But he did not say a single thing of meaning in that. So, like it was great flow, amazing flow. And Busta, I want 0 problems with Busta Rhymes. He scares me a little bit, like 0 problems. Like I've heard 0. But I'm banging in the East and I'm banging in the West and I'm banging on my chest and I'm like he didn't say a single bar of meaning.
He'll tell you himself. Oh, I wasn't really saying shit now. I know I wasn't saying that. Was all about the entertainment in that situation.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? The reason why I agree. I agree. Look at them. They're angry in there. I agree with Jeremy. I'm sorry. Be angry at me too. Then look.
Is the chat angry right now? What are they saying? Are we getting?
Look, I'm gonna share it. Look at. Stop it. You're getting. It sounded good. Give me your ring.
Hey, listen. It sounded good. No. Let's do this real quick. I'm gonna pull out the lyrics for you. Okay. I'm gonna read
these comments. As a Canadian, I take fully offense. I think there's sarcasm in a lot of this.
Okay.
I don't know. You know what? He's right.
Sometimes I gotta hit him with a little hot take. Okay, Chris Brown, Look at Me Now. Busta Rhymes verse. Okay, I'm just gonna read this to you. Imagine any other rapper said this and the flow wasn't the flow.
Read it slow. Read it slow to him.
Okay. Cause I'm feeling like I'm running. And I'm feeling like I gotta get away. Better know that I don't, and I won't ever stop. Cause you gotta win. Cause I gotta win every day. Go. See, they really, really want to pop me. Just know that you will never flop me. And I know that I can be a little cocky, but you ain't never gonna stop me.
Okay, hold on. So the pop me line is actually a double entendre. It's actually alluding to, like bubble gum. It pops. It has sugar. It's sweet. What else is sweet? Sometimes people think attitudes are sweet. Well, nothing sweet over here. But what he said is the sweet life of Zach and Cody. And the problem is it Zach or is it Cody? But that's why we're decoding. You see what I did there?
It's crazy. And it's a triple entendre because he said they want to pop me, as in they want to turn him to a pop star.
Pop star, yeah.
But he's wanting.
That was low hanging fruit. I didn't want to say.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I know it's simple. It was simple for them. But here's where it gets real crazy. Okay, this is where the fast part comes. All right.
Ooh. All right, here we go.
Prepare yourself. I'll even read it at double time, but I won't read it as fast as he rapped it. All right. Every time I come, a dude gotta set it, then I gotta go, and then I gotta get it. Then I gotta blow, and then I gotta show that any little thing a dude think that he be doing, cause it doesn't matter, cause I'm gonna die. Then I'm gonna murder everything and anything. A bada boom, a bada bing. I gotta do a lot of things that make it clear to a couple dudes that I always win.
First of all, Busta, I don't want no smoke, but them first 4 lines, hey, I have no breakdown for that at all. I'm gonna leave that one alone. That scares me. That terrifies me. What do you mean? What is he doing? But you know what? Somebody make a good point. But the flow was immaculate. It was because
it was incredible. The flow was incredible.
I didn't think about him saying nothing until I had access to the acapella and I did a remix of that song. Like Chris Brown Chris Brown did a lot of act. He actually was rapping on that.
Yeah.
And then I got to his verse and I was just listening over the kicks and snares. No distraction of that. And I said, what the hell is he saying right now? And I slowed it down and I said, what the hell is he saying right now? And now you read it. Now, you know what? That take ain't so hot no more. That take right there, That's
I don't
valid.
know. The
I think
chat
you
can
about
let
to
me know
tweet.
if I'm wrong. But what I will say is not everything's meant to be like, for example, like, you know, Russell Westbrook, when he's driving to the rim and he's about to throw down, like, you know, he didn't need the best crossover if his speed got him there. Like he just blew by you and got to the rim. Sometimes you don't need to do everything. You don't need to cross him up if you can just beat him on the side. Pause. But I do think the flow is great. I'll give him that. I'm just saying lyrically, when you're able to do both, that's the most impressive.
The problem is when you get to be Russell Westbrook, with all due respect, somebody else I don't want no smoke with, and you become a Laker, and I'm a diehard Laker fan, and I cuss my TV out to this day. The problem is when you use all that speed and you airball a layup, you're going to piss off a lot of viewers. And I can't imagine what that looks like in rapping form, where you said, oh, I didn't.
And it doesn't even sound good. Yeah, that
don't
would
even
be
hit no more. Like that's where we at with that. Oh man, I really do appreciate your time. I got a few more questions, and we gonna be out of here. How you doing on time? I know you.
I'm good. I scheduled out till about 9. Let's go. We can go 9:15.
Okay, we almost done, man. So obviously, anybody who's been in here, and I thank everybody who's been in here who's been showing love, like it's been nothing but love. Because they like I said, they highly requested you, and I think a big part of that is, you know, you. And no matter what you're talking about, there's a very uplifting energy in your videos. Is that something that you have to work to maintain, or is that just you all the time?
I would say it's partially just always me. Like anybody who have known me for a long time would be like, Jeremy's the most positive guy I know. Like anything that's said, I always have a positive flip. I'm always the guy, to an annoying point. Like if you're always around me and you're going through something, I'm the guy who's like, you don't know, you don't understand. God's got a plan for you. This is gonna, you in 3 months, you're gonna look back at this and realize why it happens. Or like, you know, I know this just happened. I know you just like, but wait for it. So I'm always that guy. I also am very intentional. Like anytime I step in front of a microphone, I pray. I always ask for the ability to say things in a way that like it's always part of my goals. My intention when I step on a microphone, no matter what, is always inspire somebody, uplift somebody, give somebody something they need to hear, and walk away with some more light in their life than they walked into this conversation with. So it's very intentional, but it's also very organic to me. Like you might see me, like if you have a conversation with me, this exact energy I'm gonna have. And if you don't, this is the thing. Like when people see me like go like get like energetic, or you're talking about like I'm crashing out, it's because I'm very provoked. Anybody who's felt it, and only a few people in life have ever felt Jeremy Hecht's wrath, like me really being like intentionally like, no, fuck you, this is what it is, has pushed me to that limit, to the point where they've been so shocked. Like whether it be relationship or it be friendships or business or whatever. When they push me to that level, they'll have to take a step back and be like, whoa, I did.
What did I do wrong?
What did I do?
I did something wrong here. Obviously, I did. You're one of them people that I told Justin, I got you on that list. I got Justin on this list. Who else? My guy Verbs. You know, Verbs is the homie. Verbs, rapper from out here. Those are the folks that if somebody came to me and was like, I got beef with him, immediately I'm looking at them and saying, what did you do? What do you mean what I did? They're just really unfit. No. Relax. What did you do? Because the thing is, like, you guys don't have a demeanor that looks to be abrasive or to offend first, or you don't come in here like it's funny because no matter what I see DJ Head go through, this is the same DJ Head from day one that I met when I went and I started going to produce for Glasses at Blue Division. It's the same one where I'm like, he's not surprised by any of it. He's like, I said what I said, and I know
he knows. He knows he's gonna. And he has no problem living it. Some people thrive. He'll be like, I know I'm about to say something that's gonna piss people off. Like I never go in with intention to do that. So if I do, I have no problem admitting I'm wrong. But in terms of like, if you see me like heated, you did something to me.
And I've learned people that have that energy, for some of them, it took them so much work to maintain this. And if you happen to be the person that wants to press the buttons where you're going to find out the work that has been done, you're going to find out, you're going to see the full evolution unravel.
You'll see my Gemini. You will really like, it's funny because like I look at, that's why I relate actually a lot to the recent Kendrick, because like I see like oh, you pushed him there. Like this is his second Gemini side. I'm less of a Kanye Gemini, and like you won't see like sporadic outbursts, but like, or like Donald Trump, like those guys are like full on all the time, outwardly Gemini. I'm like reserved, I'm outgoing, but if like, that's why I joke about it, but like no one would ever really want to go into a battle with me. And like even Head was like, yo, like he's like, Jeremy is a gangster. Like, you don't understand. Jeremy's a research gangster. He will pull up receipts on you. He will walk you down timeline of your whole life. Like, if you really wanted that smoke, here's and the thing is, I can paint a picture too.
Yeah,
I could showcase your whole life.
Jeremy, I've said this thing to people who get on YouTube, and for whatever reason, they want to try to point me out, thinking because I smiled in these thumbnails that you don't think I'm gonna put something together. First of all, I talk for a living.
Second of all, you're a rapper. You are a highly talented rapper.
About that. Thank you, sir. They forget about that. They forget about that, and they're like, wait a minute. Why would you even want to do that? Like, and the thing is, when people, like you said, they lead with love. Why would you even want to mess with them? But I think some people look at that and take kindness for weakness. But the oldest story in the book.
Curtis, I've given random acts of kindness a lot. I've spared multiple people.
Gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna
multiple. Like, I'll give you like 3 to 4 people. I've spared them, and I didn't think they were worth my time. But let them come back around. That's all I'm saying.
I feel like, you know, I don't know much about Pokemon, but I do know. Every once in a while I say, I choose you. You know what? I usually I let this go. I choose you. What do you, I'm a big fan of the topic of flow state. That's why I named my series Flowcation, where I'm making music. I'm curious for you, man. When do you feel like you're most in your flow as a creative? Or creator?
I would say when I'm piecing things together and then I see a connection. Like that could be in any realm. It could be me coming up with a take and I'm like, oh, this is the angle that no one's gone for. There it is. Or me breaking down a bar and me being like, oh, this is the hidden meaning. Or me writing a script and I'm just researching a bunch of things. And like the way I do it documents on, like, even for my new show, it's like I have every song this person's ever liked. How do I create matchups for it? Or if it's a script on YouTube, like how do I write this in a way that like all of the timeline makes sense in a 10-minute video? Like when I can piece things together and I got something, I'm like, yes. Or even if I was writing a song, like I have all these bars and I have a concept of how did I put it? Okay. Once it like, when it makes sense to me, I'm like, I'm in flow. Like, don't fuck me up. Like, let's go.
Dopamine spiking. I tell you, when you have a moment where you, especially for me as a writer, when I have a moment where I say something and I ask myself, wait a minute, what did you just say, Brain? Wait. Is that what I think you just, did you just triple entendre in front of my eyes right now? Don't do that. I get it. And I even, it's funny when I'm writing with other people and I start like getting all giggly. I'm like, and they're like, what are you doing over there? I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm having a moment. Speaking of your new show, though, one of my last questions, you know, what's different about Soundcheck on UPROXX and what kind of conversations are you aiming to have there?
It's funny. I feel like it's actually, compared to everything else I've done, which has always been in-depth research-driven interviews, or even on a carpet, it's been like, how do I connect to someone in a way that's like, there's going to stop them in their tracks and have them like pull up to me and have a conversation. It's very much more about putting the artist back into being a fan of music. So music is the center. Like I always wanted to have a show that was about music. I've written it in my notes for years, like have a music-based show where you get to talk to people from all fields, all genres, all like types of people, but you get to keep hip hop in it and you get to keep music at the center. And this show, basically, for those of you who don't know, it's a show where I'm basically giving each artist the opportunity to showcase their music taste through stuff that I know they love. So I'm still doing the research and finding out, like, I know Curtis likes artists A and B. I'm putting 2 different types of vibes of songs up against each other. Which one would you pick? Okay, cool. Now I know you liked these 2 songs when you were in high school. Here's 2 songs from high school that are very different. Which one do you like? Okay, now you like the more R&B version of this versus the hip hop. Okay, so it's like understanding an artist's taste through their actual music experience, getting stories along the way of what those songs meant to them. And then at the end, I have to guess which song they wrote down on a piece of paper. It's kind of like the two songs I'm given. One of them is theirs. One of them is the producer's team. And I have to guess based on their music taste, like which one would they pick as their life anthem. So it's cool. It's fun. It's light, but the goal is hopefully to make the artists comfortable, get them to be a fan and talk about the music, and hopefully keep music at the center of conversations for audience members too.
Every time I see new episodes or I see you teasing a new episode with an artist, I see them smiling ear to ear. And to me, that's such a good sign, bro. It's you know, when I think about deaf poetry, I forget the poet's name, but there was a poet that was talking about like brothers don't smile no more. And he was explaining the reasons why this is created, why this image. I love seeing that folks are on there and they look like they genuinely want to be in that room, and it's not about just a job. And I think that has to do a lot with you asking them questions and putting them in situations that are like, okay, this is so different than asking me questions that you could obviously Google. With that in mind, though, man, now I gotta switch the tables on you. What's a weird talent or obsession your fans probably don't know about you?
A weird talent or obsession. It's funny, a lot of my skill set, I feel like I show, like a lot of it is like research and writing and speaking. What am I good at that people don't know? I'm looking at my cat for the answer. I would say I'll go with more on the obsession side. Like I get really obsessed with like random, like we talked about hobbies earlier. So once music became my job, I had to find other hobbies. So there was stuff that I'd go down like deep rabbit holes on. Like I was really obsessed with aliens for a long time and like UFOs and like really deep into like the CIA documents that like they talked about astral projection. Like I've interviewed people who have been a part of those experiments. Like I was really into that for a while. Very into right now, like historical study of the Bible. Like I'm going back and like rereading and rewatching the Old Testament videos and listening to the audio. And like, I watch a lot of Bible content on my, like people explaining and conspiracies and like the, what's it called? The like searching for Atlantis and then like the Enoch, the Book of Enoch and shit. Like anything that's like, this is like bigger than me and historically relevant and like, and biblical and God. Like I love that stuff. So maybe my obsession with God and history and that stuff. But overall, I let my curiosity guide me. Like I say, like my curiosity is my superpower. So it just happens that my passion is hip hop. And so I take my curiosity there most of the time. But I'm just as curious about like today, like I was looking up where the term "it went down the wrong pipe" came from. When you choke on something when you're eating. I was like, is this real?
What did you find?
I'm like, where? Bro, there's 2 actual pipes, okay? And I'm sorry I asked.
I'm sorry I asked. You know what? Hey, this has been a great interview.
Long story short, though, going down the wrong pipe is actually our fault as humans. The body was created perfectly by God. It said the only time that something goes down the wrong pipe is when we're distracted, when we're laughing, or when we're speaking, and that's how you choke on something. This is so much pause-worthy shit.
I'm waiting for you to land, but this plane is just spiraling.
There's no landing. Just, you know what? We're off. It's fine. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the DIYers.
The funniest thing, to remind me of the funniest thing, me and Jester were listening to GNX, and I'll never forget. He asked a question about cripping, and he was like, you know what? He said, what does the word mean? And he was like, you know what? Never mind. Sat back in his chair. Man, round of applause for you, bro. Like your energy is infectious. You make it exciting again to hear from artists that we hear from a million times when they're on their media runs. You are a professional. You are somebody that cares about the craft, and you're somebody that makes artists feel very, very welcome to be in your presence. And when that happens, man, you make it an easier environment and world for all of us in here, especially folks like myself, who I'm still very much a baby when it comes to having any kind of a voice in media. But man, I watch you. Sometimes I'm sitting here, I'm taking notes. But I just want to make sure I gave you your roses and just gave the people what they want. Now, the last thing is not even a question; it's a request that people have been saying here all night. What's the game plan to get tiramisu? What are we doing? What do we need to do? What's up, man? What do you need some support from us? What's up?
Well, first of all, I'll give a live check because I haven't actually checked my DMs in a while, and you never know. Maybe there is this was the Jojo Ruski account that I DM'd, by the way, because I can only DM Kendrick one time. I do, even though Head pranked me, I do honestly believe that Kendrick watches everything. And so I do think that he's probably seeing this and laughing. Now, do I think the other thing that people ask me is if I thought it's unread, by the way, it's still unread.
It's read.
No, like unread, not on read. I would be going crazy if he read it. Unread. UN.
Is it unread? Oh, I thought you said unread. I got excited for you. I'm sorry.
But everybody was asking me if I thought it was a subtle, like little funny shot at me when he said, "Hey Doc, can I get a drop?" I'm like, nah, that was on broccoli. A lot of people thought I'm like, I'm not that conceited that I think, but I do think he saw the request. Like, I do think the fact that it became a single and a video, and like the fact that was like maybe pushed forward, I do give it credit to the community of people that were on that song. The tiramisu, what I will say is the update. So no Jojo Ruski reply. But today, you guys are in for a treat. Anybody who watches the bigger picture, literally, no pun intended, is Head. He got me again. He got me again, bro.
What did he do?
He didn't. It wasn't like a full prank level, but he's like, yo, Jeremy, like, you know, what was that song called that you campaigned for? I was like, Squabble Up. He's like, yeah, what'd you call it? The broccoli. He's like, yeah, well, like, what was the next one? You said after that you wanted what? I was like, dessert. He's like, what'd you call it? The tiramisu. He's like, well, do you want some? Do you want some more? And I was like, what do you? I was like, what do you? And I'm like, what do you? I was like, are you fucking with me again? I was like, and he's like, no, I'm serious. Like, he's like, do you want to hear some? Like, and he has his phone. Also, before the episode, he's like calling. He's like, Jeremy, I got a scoop for you, but like, I just gotta call somebody. He like literally, he gets on the phone with somebody. I heard another voice. He's fucking like calling it like, and then at the end, he goes, all right, I got some. He got me real ass tiramisu, like a real like box of tiramisu, but. As much as I was disappointed, fans, what I will say, chat, listen to this, chat. I think that's a sign that it's coming soon. Pause. I think that's a sign that the song is dropping soon. Because this is the thing. Why would he bring this up out of nowhere?
Got you so triggered. I'm sorry this audience got you so triggered by the way you said.
Why would he bring it up out of nowhere if it wasn't going to happen soon? I didn't bring up the tiramisu. I didn't ask about it this time. He brought it up. So I think we're right around the corner. There's a tour coming up. There's a video that they said they were shooting. So I think our request now, what I will say too, Curtis, if it's called tiramisu, I won't be talking to anybody I'll be hard to reach. Mm-hmm. If the song is actually titled tiramisu on any platform, you will have a hard time. My head is going to explode.
You have a hard time, but none harder than me trying to pronounce it, because they have this thing here called pronunciations where I just go for a word. And even if oh my gosh, those legal documents were kicking my ass. Those Drake UMG legal documents were
I watched that.
Oh my gosh. Hyperbole and hyperbolic. Oh my gosh. Somebody said, who is Tierra Masu? Tierra Masu is the homegirl, and I need you to mind your business. That's what I need you to do.
Tierra.
Shout out to the homegirl Tierra Masu. She got a twin. Sister Tierra and Tamara, Tierra to Masu. Oh man, it is an absolute honor and a pleasure, bro. Thank you so much for your time. For those who want to connect with you and want to see all of the amazing things that you have going on, how can they connect with you?
So you can follow me on Instagram at Jeremy_HECHT, Jeremy Hecht. Same with Twitter, Jeremy_Hecht. YouTube, Jeremy_Hecht. I will be posting more YouTube videos. I say that all the time, but I am focusing on that. I do have some bars I'm working on, Curtis. I'm dropping a freestyle very soon. I won't talk about it too much, but I do want to get your ear on it to make sure that it, that it sounds good. And then the bigger picture every Saturday on Hip Hop DX YouTube. That is 10 a.m. PST. And then we have Soundcheck on UPROXX every Wednesday. That's on UPROXX YouTube channel. And I, play artists some music that they like, and we have a good time. That's every Wednesday at 9 a.m. PST.
No, this is crazy. Misu,
But
tiramisu.
Come on.
Come on, man. That was a reach.
That's impressive. That's an impressive reach. That's an impressive reach.
Don't hurt
But
yourself.
Curtis, I gotta say too, I always give people their flowers too. I appreciate the love. I appreciate you, always championing for me, but I also appreciate you championing for the culture, for lyricism, for integrity and respect within hip hop. So keep doing what you're doing. I'm a fan. I watch the content, and I know the chat. Listen, we made it happen. Okay, more on the horizon too.
All they want to know is Jeremy Hecht on Flocation. Like, you trying to come over here and spit some bars like live? You know what I mean? Like, we can talk about it. They just, if look, how about when you get tiramisu, when you finally get the homegirl tiramisu, you know what I'm saying? And she drop her song, like, just let me know. Hey, it's a celebratory time. We got to have a celebratory freestyle.
That's a deal.
Let's go.
That's a deal. You can do it. You can do a tiramisu remake beat, and we'll we'll do. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna sample Doja Cat saying Tierra, and then I don't know where the Masu is gonna come from, but I'll figure it out. Man, round of applause one more time for this gentleman. So, man, thank you. I'm gonna hang out for a little bit, and I'm gonna address the super chats in here, but I just want to say thank you so much. All of this gentleman's information is in the description. I'll be adding even more links. But man, I genuinely appreciate you carving out some time in your busy schedule. I know you just came from the Dreamville Fest and all that good stuff. So we look forward to more content from you. And man, thank you again.
You too. And appreciate everybody who's watching, who's supporting anything I've ever done. More is on the, it'll be a good time to be a fan of anything I do. We got more happening. And Curtis, let's keep it pushing.
Let's put it pushing. Hey, let's go. One more time. Jeremy Hecht, ladies and gentlemen. All right, my friends. Look, it just dawned on me, like, the last time we did an interview. First of all, I hope you're enjoying these interviews. I'm enjoying having these conversations. It's such a good switch and pace for a lot of the things that we're doing. Plus, it's giving, I think you got to understand, it's giving the channel more longevity for us to be able to have all these original conversations, original content. I'd love reacting. We're going to still keep doing that. Obviously, I'm finding the harmony between both, but I just appreciate y'all showing up and showing these folks love. Like, anybody that I bring here, I genuinely, it's not about no names. It's not about clout. It's not about anything except for I have a genuine respect, and I want to honor them. And I also want to ask them questions that I've never heard anybody ask them. And yeah, there it is. So let me get to these super chats. Dritz924. Where my tiramisu? I'm still gonna call it. Her mama named her Tierra. I'm gonna name her Tierra. Said my dog said creativity is like a fountain of youth. It sure is, man. It sure is. Thank you for the super chat. Andre F says Jeremy gotta be top 3 Canadian of all time. Damn, you gonna put him above Jillian Barbary? And what's the nigga name from Austin Powers? What's the nigga name? I'm forgetting. I'm just playing. He's already top. Not like I don't look. It just is what it is. Don't argue with me. Boy Nation says crazy Kendrick knew about GW on King Kunta before Meek put it out for the public. Been plotting on the boy. I do think so. I think something happened on that original tour. This is not anybody's information. I think something happened and he just looked at him on stage and was like, "Are you that kind of person, huh? Say less." And then he enrolled into psychology classes in UCLA. and he has been giving us a master class in how to give somebody how to do psychological warfare. Good God. Jid and Denzel are perfect examples of that. Yeah, shout out to both of them. I would love to have a conversation eventually with them. Misunderstood. What's going on, sis? Another great interview, even though I was an hour late. You ain't never late. But I'm grateful that you were able to be here nonetheless. Y'all got lives. I appreciate it. You got other content creators you happen to tune into. YouTube is a television, and everybody has their own channel. That's the way I look at it. So if you're here, it means that what we're doing is rivaling what you watch on Netflix, on television. And if this is the kind of content that you find entertaining, I'm doing my best to make sure it continues to evolve. And I do appreciate every single one of you super chatting and just leaving comments in the comments in general. Hashtag RR for sure. Chocolate's Eye says, if Kendrick names it tiramisu, I'm gonna be on my Elizabeth. I'm coming home. I'm coming to join you. Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey. Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey. I think we both gonna be on that. We both gonna be on that. Speaking of which, I hope Amazon Prime didn't brought back Sanford and Son, because that pisses me off that they took it away. Furry Fondue, the Dripping Wet remix. Do I even want to know? Nope. Thank you, Brittany J. I appreciate you. Lost in translation. Ooh, good way to put it, Curtis. That's why I F with YouTube communities now. Best communities on the social media, in my opinion. Nah, facts. Hey, I am sick of you in the most respectful and loving way possible, Miss Rec, to you. If you don't, you're lucky. That's going to be crazy. I was about to say, you're lucky I ain't got my New Balances on me right now. I can't say that in any other tone. You're lucky I ain't got my New Balances on me right now. I'll show you something. She's trying to be funny. Talking about I got them AARP 6s. What's up, Jake Asai? I ain't got no, it ain't no damn AR. You say that until you get you a pair. Damn it, that sound like something my grandfather would have said. You say that until you get yourself a pair. You see how comfortable these is. I'm not sacrificing style for comfort. I am not sacrificing style from comfort. Calling my shit Paul 12s. Go to hell. Y'all, everybody. I ain't never hog-tied nobody. You go to hell. No New Balance blasphemy. We can't say things like that because we just gonna age ourselves, said. New Balance, not the Jerusalem 12s, 10s. Why were 10 versions of it made? Y'all are sick human beings, and I love you for that. The Centrum 7s? Is that why your avatar is a picture of a hand writing? Because you just come up with bars? This ain't no old man shoes until you put, oh, damn it, no matter what I say, that shit sound old. Wait till you put them on. I have the 960. See? The 9060. Look. Golden Rose is going, look. I'm glad I got people on our side. Them 96, them 9060s. Oh my gosh. I looked at them and I was like, ain't nobody want to wear them old ass shoes. I put them shits on my feet and I said, well, you know, it's not the first time I've been wrong. I knew that I officially was a lost cause, my friend. Look, Golden Rose, I was a lost cause when somebody in here said, well, you know, in Ontario, they got a whole factory. They got a wholesale place where you can get like 4 of them for $150 or for $200. I said, my whole face changed. I said, I don't care about none of that shit y'all talking about. We finna go get some shoes. I don't care about none of that. I don't care about none of that. Ain't none of y'all gotta walk with these dogs. Ain't none of y'all gotta walk with these dogs. I gotta live here, Craig. Ain't none of y'all gotta walk with these dogs. I walked around Disneyland all day long with my son and my wife. I walked around, my feet ain't never felt that good. With that said, I'd like to tomorrow, 3D Nati is going to be joining us. Oh my God. Y'all have been requesting more women to come onto the platform. I've been very conscious and not just about having just anybody on here, but folks who are doing things that I feel like are going to be very inspirational to DIYers, creatives, those who own your own business. She is so dope. Like Justin did a video about her and she has this mobile studio that she put together with her own hands, and she's in this van that she put together, and it's literally a studio on wheels. And she goes around to city to city. She's got all of these super impressive credits and features, and she is a spitter. She's a lyricist, a bore god, and I can't wait for y'all to hear from her. So tomorrow it's gonna be my first time actually like talking to her on camera, and that's gonna be super dope because I've heard the name for a long time. Hopefully I get to see y'all here tomorrow. That's gonna be that. And then yeah, this is Curtis King TV, and we are growing. #RR. Y'all have an amazing night, and hopefully I didn't keep my folks on the East Coast up too late. Much love to you. I thank you. Have a good one. All right. My hips 11. Hey, Hung fam. Go to hell. DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.